this to me is, why the left doesn't track very well.
Okay.
Yeah. This is for that reason, when they have some things, like with abortion, and I'm pro-choice.
Yeah.
Like, that litigating men shouldn't have any power over somebody's body.
Okay.
Like a woman's body. But at the same time, all the left was wanting everybody to get vaccinated before the FDA even had a chance to know,
right,
is this going to have some long-term effects?
Yeah.
And they were mandating that. Mm-hmm. Like, have you seen this outside hitter that plays for San Jose State? So it's a trans volleyball player, and she's a monster.
Okay.
And several of the teams in the I think it's the WAC. But I saw clips where they're setting to her, and she's coming on the outside, and she's a monster. She's just very big biological male.
Right.
And she hit this. She got in her hitting stance, and jumped in, hit, and she hit the other team's setter in the face so hard, and she just got knocked down on the court, and it's just you've never seen a female outside hitter hit the ball 90 miles an hour, and it was just pounded this poor woman in the face.
Terrible.
Today's kids, because maybe we were the latchkey generation, we're helicoptering, we're overdoing it. I've seen toddlers screaming on floors, and the parents on the floor with them, trying to rationalize with them, and
I know, it drives me
your feelings
crazy.
Tell me, and the kids going insane on the ground, and I'm just 50 years ago, that pick your kid up, put him in the shopping cart. My reasons for pro-choice, and this probably has to do with the culture I grew up in, because my dad was pro-choice, my mom was pro-choice, so you just kind of learn from your parents, and so for me that's kind of carried on, and I guess for me, if somebody feels that they're not prepared yet to be a parent, or are just in a situation where the life of this child would be poor, uncared for.
But is there any way to predict that? Hello and happy November, arguably the greatest month of the year, partly because fall is the best season of the year, but also because November holds the greatest holiday of all time, Thanksgiving. One of the many things that I love about my wife is that she is always up on making sure that the house is decorated for the proper theme and season, and fall decorations are the best. November is also the month that I became a dad for the first time, so obviously there's no debating me on this. November is the best, and I'm right. But besides that, I also have a great episode for you today, so maybe I should get to that. My guest today is Ian Moats, who works as a senior clinical recruiter, which he will explain in detail during the episode, and spends most of his time between the office and the gym. Ian knew me back when I was a cocky freshman playing on the high school tennis team. Because of the fact that back then I thought I was God's gift to everything around me, I am sure that I was not an enjoyable person to be around. But in spite of all that, Ian still chose to come and hang out with me to record this episode. After seeing how ripped he is these days, I'm glad he doesn't hold a grudge. Ian has had a pretty interesting life since the end of high school, and he is no stranger to hardships. Among them, his on-again, off-again battle with alcoholism, and the unexpected passing of his wife less than a year ago. We talk about some really cool topics, and Ian articulates his thoughts well. I also think he sounds like Alec Baldwin, but you can be the judge of that. Enjoy the conversation. This is cool, man. I like doing this with the people I haven't talked to in forever.
I know. I haven't seen you since
probably high school, right?
High school, when you were younger, quite a bit younger.
Yeah. Well, I think you graduated in 94?
94.
Okay, so 96.
96.
So, when we played tennis, I think I played 2 years with you because my freshman and my sophomore year where you were junior and senior.
Yes.
And then my cousin Danny was...
Oh, Danny McFarland?
Yeah, he's a grade older than you.
Yeah. Oh, so I didn't know Danny was your cousin.
Oh, yeah. Well, you knew it back then.
I knew him back then. Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. So he played 1 year with us because he was a senior when I was a freshman.
He was a senior,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were the doubles team.
How's he doing?
When I was he's good. He's living up in Washington, and he's been on the show. I've had him on the show. which is weird because it's like I know him so well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like one of those things
like,
there's so many different dynamics when I come at it. Like there's people like you that I know but I haven't talked to in 25 years.
Yeah.
Then there's people I'm literally meeting for the first time when they show up at my doorstep. Like never met him at all ever.
Oh, no kidding.
That's always kind of like, ooh, this is gonna be interesting. You know.
Yeah.
And then there's people like that, like Danny, who like I literally,
family.
yeah, we're like brothers. We've been so close our entire lives. So it's just it makes it fun.
Tell me below for me.
I will. Yeah, I will, man. Yeah, he's married, got 3 kids up in Washington State. He's in Camas, which is just north of Portland. I mean, it's like when I go visit him, I fly into Portland, and then 20-minute drive to his house. So, but he's got
that area. It's gorgeous.
It's so pretty, dude. He's on some land, so he's got these like 20-foot like windows and there's just forests, like trees all in his house. He's got a pond down there. He stocks with trout. He can go down there and fish it.
Perfect.
Dude, when it snows, all the trees are just covered and it's so beautiful. It's like that's where I go to vacation. You know, it's like don't have to pay for a hotel. I'm just like, I'll just go stay with you for a couple weeks, dude. It's awesome. Yeah. But we don't do the drive anymore in the winter because we got stuck up on that hill going over to where Shasta is and all that, you know, like just north of Reading.
I know that hill because I've driven to Bend.
I mean, exactly. I love Bend, dude. Bend is just beautiful.
I love Bend.
It's so.
I thought about moving there.
We did too.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a bunch of our friends that were all moving there, and I just had. Do you know the Hernblads?
Yeah, Jacob.
Okay, well, Jared is the youngest one. Yeah, he was on my show a couple months ago, and he lives up near. Well, he lived in Bend. Now he lives in another part of Oregon that I forgot the name of.
Okay, but yeah, you go visit those.
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest, man, and you're just like,
dude, it's like what have I been doing here? Like, what is it?
I know.
You know,
exactly.
But I mean, I don't know any different. I've been here my whole life. I had about an 8-month stint where I moved to San Diego.
Okay.
Which isn't that different from here.
No,
I mean, if anything, it's better than here.
It's just an improved version.
Yeah, exactly. It's still Southern California, no matter how you slice it. But but I don't really. I just started barely. Me and my wife started traveling, going like we went to Tennessee, we went to like Ohio and Florida, and it's like, oh, I'm seeing some of these other states now. I'm going, yeah, California's not as good as like. I mean, the weather's great. Don't get me wrong.
That's what drove me back.
Right. Yeah.
Because I've lived in different places.
Okay.
Different states.
Okay. Cool.
But it's I mean, right now it's almost November. It's gonna be 70 degrees.
Right. Yeah. Can't beat it. Yeah. Cool stuff, man. All right, so break it down for me, man. So we played tennis together in high school. I have been seeing on Facebook lately that I see a lot of familiar faces from those days. I saw you hanging out with Jeff Strong and some of those guys. Like, man, there's another guy I haven't talked to since high school or anything. It's like, dang.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So just kind of like give me a brief like your life after high school. What did you do after that?
Sure. So I did go to San Francisco State after I left Santa Maria.
Okay.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I bet.
Transitioning from being in a small town to, being in the big city was quite a culture shock. Mm-hmm. But and
that's a good one too. I love San Francisco. Such a neat place.
And this was San Francisco in the 90s.
But when it was better.
When it was, it was. I mean, it was before like the .com invasion.
Yes.
The rich people all, were in finance, not computer technology or, .coms didn't exist, the internet. I remember when I started there, the internet had just started. So like when I was at San Francisco State is when we got like our first email.
Okay.
And
that's crazy.
Mine being at sfsu.edu.
Something totally just standard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was able to get like a Yahoo email address that just was my name.
Oh, wow.
That's how early it was.
You can't do that anymore. You have to have like 27 numbers after it or something.
Yeah, you got to have symbols and this. But it was a great experience.
Okay. What did you go to study in San Francisco?
I didn't know.
Okay.
And so this kind of like parlayed into my studies at San Francisco State. Mm-hmm. So just I'll walk it back a little bit.
Okay.
But when I was 18, when we graduated, our tennis coach, my tennis coach, John St. John, had a group that was taking a bunch of kids to Europe.
Oh yeah, they did that like every year, didn't they?
They did that every other year.
Every other year. Okay.
I went when I was 18 and I chaperoned when I was 20.
Oh, so cool.
Yes, it was awesome. So that was like in high school when we were in high school, I was very like straight arrow, like if my friends went to parties or drank, they got a stern lecture from me.
Yeah. That's the way I remember you.
Yeah, and that's the way I was.
Yeah.
And, the reason I was like that was because alcoholism had just ravaged my family.
Oh, okay.
So, my mom was an alcoholic. My
boy.
aunt, they both died from it.
Oh, man. Gnarly.
My grandparents all died from it. So, so I was like this, don't drink,
Right.
don't do drugs, don't drink. And so when I went to Europe with the St. John's is when I first had my first sip of alcohol.
Like ever?
Ever.
And you're 18 at that point?
18 at that point, and went to the Hofbrauhaus in Germany.
Oh, boy.
And so this was my first foray into that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm 18. It's legal here.
Yeah.
I'm not breaking any laws. And so, ended up having 4-liter steins the first time I ever drank alcohol.
You probably got roasted, man.
No. That was the thing. I was totally fine.
Crazy.
But it gave me this innate sense of confidence, self-confidence that I didn't have when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Because, if you probably remember, I was a big kid.
Yeah.
And, didn't have much style,
Right.
I was forced to go to prom with my stepsister's friend.
Okay.
So that tells you about my experience with women in high school. So the girls were definitely not breaking down my door.
Right.
But when I first had that taste of alcohol when I was 18 at the Hofbrauhaus in Germany, I was like, oh my God, where has this been all my life?
Yeah.
And so I woke up the next morning in Munich, and all of my other classmates all had hangovers, and they were they had like one. And I was completely fine. So I had it had zero impact, and I had 4.
That is so strange.
I was like, at that point, I was like, oh no, I've got the gene.
Oh boy.
Even at that was the first time, and I was like, oh no, because I read a lot about it and, been lectured on it and stuff like that. And so fast forward like 2 months later, the group had gone home. That was just a 3-week trip. So I was traveling on my own through Europe, Western and Northern.
By
Europe.
yourself?
By myself.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
How much longer after everyone left were you there?
They were there for 3 weeks, and then I went about another month and a half on my own.
Wow.
Yeah, but I was visiting family in England.
Okay.
And Scotland, and then
dude, that's on my bucket list. Not that I have family there, but just to go to those places.
They're so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I probably wasted it at 18 because I was way more interested in drinking at this point at nightclubs than I was in like seeing Stonehenge and
right.
The British Museum. But it culminated in Sweden about a month and a half later, and I was visiting Marcus, who we played with. And so
crazy.
And I spent like 2 weeks with Marcus.
Okay.
Like, we were traveling all around Sweden.
Oh man.
Yeah. But at this point I'm drinking like a pint of vodka. And this is only like 2 months later. So like we all his Swedish friends are just getting destroyed. I'm getting destroyed with him.
Oh no.
And it was this amazing experience.
So you did finally get to a point where you got drunk.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Once I found the hard stuff.
Okay.
I was like, oh.
Because I was like, when you were talking about the beer in the beginning, I'm like, maybe you have some like weird genetic thing where alcohol just doesn't affect you.
Nope.
Okay.
No, it affected me. So that was my first exposure to like women.
Okay.
And like nightclubs and like, now I've got some confidence.
Right.
And I'm like,
right.
Now
you're the Mac Daddy.
American.
Yeah,
well,
dude.
I'm still like, I'm still 18 and like, I don't know what I was at that point, probably 260 pounds.
Okay.
So I was still a real big kid. I looked like I was 35 when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
And at this point I had like a beard too because I didn't shave the whole time.
Nice.
So I probably looked older than 35. But so I got into that. We had a great time.
Yeah.
So this kind of led me into, when I got back, going to San Francisco.
Okay.
And, so at this point I'm like, oh man, I just want to party. I'm going to go to San Francisco. And I'm just going to women and drinking and, whatever. So that kind of like, made studying a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
At
I
San
could
Francisco
imagine.
State.
Yeah.
And so I was at San Francisco State for a couple years, and then did a year at Fresno State.
Okay.
And then back to San Francisco State.
Oh,
so
wow.
as far as like studies, I ended up with a liberal studies degree.
Okay.
Basically because I tried history, social anthropology, sociology, political science. Like I had tried so many different.
Because in high school you were a good student, right?
I was okay.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody thinks I was.
Maybe because you just hung out. I just remember like you and the guys on the tennis team, like Henderson and like all those guys were like.
Not even those. Like my really good friends, like Praveen and Nick.
Oh yeah.
And Brandon Clay.
Okay.
won all the awards for most intelligent, most likely to succeed, whatever. And they're all incredibly successful now.
Right.
But I was more just, I never studied.
Okay.
I just wanted to play sports.
Right.
24/7.
Well, that was me. I mean, I don't know if you remember that, but until my senior year, because I played varsity from freshman on, but every year except my senior year, I only played half the season.
Yeah.
Because I either didn't make the first half because of grades, or I got kicked out halfway through because of grades, right? And it wasn't until my senior year. And the only reason I got the senior year is because you remember Mr. Moore, the
of course,
the PE teacher.
Yeah.
So I think Coach St. John must have talked to him or something, because they wanted me on the team my senior year, because it was my senior year.
Yeah.
I was good at tennis. That's the one thing I had going for me.
Yeah.
And he made it so where he would change my grade from a D in math to a C. No, math? No, in PE it was.
Okay.
That's what it was. I'm sorry, PE. From a D to a C.
Okay.
How do you get a D in PE, first of all?
Being an athlete.
Right, I guess. I just didn't dress out. I didn't do none of that stuff. And that's why I kept getting in trouble. But anyway, he would change it from a D to a C if I went over his house on the weekend and pull weeds. So I went over to Mr. Moore's house on like a Saturday.
That sounds so like Mr. Moore.
And I was there from like 7 a.m. to like 1 in the afternoon just pulling weeds at his house. Yep. And then they bumped me from a C. So then I got to play.
Oh my God!
Because you had to have a C average.
That totally sounds like. And I've got one story for you from Mr. Moore.
Okay.
So I was helping Mr. Moore my senior year. I was his, whatever you call, like a senior who helps, like whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember there was this freshman kid who just like, and mind you, I'm this huge kid.
Right.
And this freshman kid who must have weighed like 90 pounds or something. Was just constantly just giving me issues.
Oh, really? Like he was making fun of you and stuff, or what?
He wasn't like, he just like wanted to fight. Or
wow.
And I was just like, what is wrong with you, kid? And so Mr. Moore sees this, and then he opens up some like closet, and he's like, come here, kid. He's motioning to the freshman.
Oh, no.
He's like, I see you've got a big mouth. I'm going to leave you and Moats in here for like 3 minutes. And then I'm going to come back and get you. Is that what you want? And the kid like almost like wet himself.
I bet, dude.
So he's like, no, it's not what I want. It's not what I want. He was just doing it to try and look cool in front of his
he
friends.
knew the kid wouldn't go in there with you.
Yeah. But that was just Mr. Moore. Like I could totally see him like changing a grade for weeding.
Yeah, dude. He was
so old school.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wasn't by the book.
He was a tennis guy too. So
exactly.
He coached the girls team.
And that's I think that was my in.
Yeah.
Because he came to watch the guys.
Yeah.
So he wanted us to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see why he's like, yeah, I'll bump up. Maybe it's just PE. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously he's athletic. He's playing varsity tennis. It's
exactly.
like, come on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But that was my mistake. So.
Anyway, back to what you were saying.
Yeah, back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
So I did ultimately graduate college with a liberal studies degree.
Okay, like a master's or a?
No, just a bachelor's.
Just a bachelor's.
At this point, but at this point I was like, I had very little direction. Mm-hmm. I was working in San Francisco, so I worked for like large law firms, large accounting firms, Arthur Andersen, which has since gone under.
Doing what?
Due to the Enron scandal.
Oh, okay.
Andersen Consulting made everything topple because I think they hit a lot of things in their consulting for Enron.
Okay.
But this was before that. So I worked at Arthur Andersen and Morrison Forrester, this really large law firm in San Francisco.
Yeah. What were you doing for them?
Oh, menial.
Because you didn't go to law school, so obviously what are you doing? Taking out trash and making coffee or what?
Well, this is before computers again, mind you.
Okay.
We're like filtering things through. So there was like 7 of us in a room reviewing legal docs, and they had names for us to highlight when we saw it.
Okay.
And so like when these like names would come across in documents, you just highlighted it.
Oh.
And you did that for 10 hours a day.
Oh my gosh, dude, that sounds like...
Yeah, I know. Like kids today wouldn't understand. Because now they would just, put the whole thing, get it scanned.
Right.
And then highlight every word, and do it in minutes.
Yeah.
It took us like 4 months. It was a huge case that they were working on.
Dude, that would have drove me insane.
Oh, it was.
Did they pay you good, though, for that?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were paid, this was 98.
Okay.
So this was like, getting paid $10 an hour was like.
Yeah.
And this is before San Francisco was so expensive.
Yeah, right.
So like, it was doable.
Yeah.
And
okay.
So I was working there, and I was living in just outside of San Francisco with Scott Hayner, who played on the tennis team.
Yes.
and Jeff Strong, who played on the tennis team. So we were all living together.
Well, didn't he he went to Oregon, I thought.
Yeah, so this is, he came to San Francisco right after he graduated Oregon.
Okay.
So again, this was like, he was a year older than us.
Right.
This was 98.
Yeah, he was Danny's grade. Yeah.
He was Danny's grade.
Yeah.
And so Jeff, Scott, and I lived in this 1-bedroom apartment in Daly City.
Oh my gosh.
And, between the three of us, we had to pay like $300 a month.
Wow.
So, making $10 an hour, man, you could pay your rent in 1 week and then spend the rest of it partying. Yeah,
you could actually spend money on other things. Which is kind of not the case today.
Not the case today, not at all. Yeah, at 22 years old.
Wow.
So we were all living in San Francisco. We were partying, drinking way too much. Poor Scott, man. I think because he was an accountant.
Yeah.
He was an accountant for Arthur Andersen. I was just a tax preparer guy.
Oh, so is he the one that got you the job there then?
He's the one that got me the job.
Okay.
And, he was an accountant. But we would go out till like 3, 4 in the morning on a Tuesday. And then instead of taking the bar's closed at this point.
Yeah.
We would just sleep outside Arthur Andersen with the homeless in our work clothes from the night before.
Well, yeah, because you got to go to work soon, right?
And then we woke up like 2 hours later and walked in.
Oh my gosh.
And then,
that's hardcore, man.
Work like 11 or 12 hour day.
Oh, that's gnarly.
Like, I can't even be up past 10 o'clock these days.
Oh, me neither.
And now I look back at those days and I was just like, that would just destroy me.
Oh, for sure, man.
But you're 22.
Right. Things are way different back then. Yeah.
So anyway, I was doing that until 1999.
Okay.
And then at that point, moved to San Diego. I had met a woman who was a clinical psychologist in the Bay. She was doing her postgraduate work at Stanford.
Okay.
And then she and I moved to San Diego.
Oh, what part?
We were in La Jolla.
Okay.
Yeah.
La Jolla. I believe it's pronounced La Jolla.
Yes, right. We were on Genesee in La Jolla. Yes. Yeah. Gorgeous place.
Yeah.
And, coming from San Francisco, I was just like, wow. I mean, because, no fog, just bone chilling cold.
San Diego is awesome.
Dude, San Diego was, I know. You said you lived there too.
Yeah, well, we lived in Ramona.
Oh, so you were east.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, eastern up to 78, kind of a little farmer town up on the hill over there. But, we'd spend,
But it's gorgeous there too.
Yeah. And over there, you'd go everywhere, Yeah, because Ramona's up, near Julian. Yeah. It's about another 20, 30-minute drive to Julian. Yeah, we went to Julian all the time. We lived up there.
And it's hot there, too.
Yeah. The summers get pretty brutal.
Summers get hot.
Yeah, so I lived like I said, I was only there for about 8 months. Because I followed my now wife, when I met her, she lived in Nipomo.
Oh, okay.
She was only 15.
Okay.
And I was 18. So I just graduated high school.
Okay.
I'd just come off of that girl. I don't know if you remember, I was with that other girl for like 2 years in high school.
I remember. I was going to ask you about
she used to come watch me play tennis and stuff.
Yeah.
And so then we broke up like right before graduation.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, I'm single, I'm free. Mm-hmm. I didn't get to have as much fun as I wanted in the end of high school. So now I'm going to just, go loose. And that only lasted a couple months till I met Bethany, through a mutual friend. And I was like, cool. Ooh. I kind of like her,
Yeah.
So then we started hanging out, and then within a month after we met, her parents moved to San Diego, to Ramona.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah. So I'm like, we're not gonna do the long distance. I mean, come on, we've known each other a month. This is ridiculous. We're not gonna. I mean, this is stupid. We're just gonna break up, and then you go. We'll see you later. It was fun while it lasted. And then that didn't last long. And then we're like, okay, we want to make this work. Let's make this work. So then I was going down there to visit. So then I eventually moved there with, do you remember Brian Sowers?
That name sounds really
familiar. He was Tony Payne's stepbrother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brian was like my best friend growing up.
Oh, okay, right on.
Red-haired guy. He's real good at baseball.
Okay.
He was like a potential professional prospect for baseball.
Oh, wow.
He didn't play professionally, but he probably could have if he would have done, different things. But anyway, so he moved down there with me, and we lived in an apartment. Apartment was $475 in San Diego. Yeah, it was like 2-bedroom apartment, $475. This was probably 96, 97.
Yeah.
And just gnarly. So we lived there for 8 months, and then he ended up coming back.
Okay.
And then I was trying to afford it on my own. And it sounds funny to say, but I couldn't afford $475 on my own.
Oh no, I know.
Back then.
You're getting paid maybe $425.
So then I was like sleeping in my car for a while. Then I eventually came back here, and then she ended up getting pregnant when she was 17 with our first. And then
so you have your older child.
Yeah, she's 25.
Wow.
She's married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I'm old, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, she's our oldest. Yeah, no, not yet.
Okay.
Probably eventually in the next couple of years, I imagine, because they've been talking about it, but they want to do it right.
Sure.
They want to be situated and settled with jobs and stuff. It's like, why can't you do it like me and Mom did? I mean, because we were crazy. That's why. But yeah, so she moved back here and we lived here, and then now we have 4 total.
Okay.
So our oldest 25, and we have a 22-year-old son, and then a 16-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old son. So we got 2 and 2.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and the 3 youngers are all still here.
Okay.
You might have seen my older son leaving. I don't know what time you got here, but
No, I didn't.
okay. Yeah, he went out, so he's.
Are they ever getting?
No, we actually homeschool our kids.
Oh, okay.
We've homeschooled all of our kids.
Great.
Yeah, other than Alora, our oldest, she did kindergarten and first grade at May Grisham when that was still there.
Okay.
And then Aiden did kindergarten at May Grisham, and then we've homeschooled ever since.
Great. Does your wife kind of handle the instruction? And...
She handles all of it.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm working.
Yeah.
Although the first couple years we did it, I did it.
Okay.
Actually, that's right. I forgot about that because she got up. She was working for a company that she's still working for today, and she got offered a position that paid like double what I was making.
Okay.
At what I was doing. I think I was cooking pizzas still or whatever I was doing, and we're like, oh my gosh, how can we But at the same time, we don't want to put the kids in daycare. We don't want to do any of this stuff. So it's like she's like, well, what if you stay home?
Okay.
And take care of the kids. So I was a stay-at-home dad for like 3 years with my older 2.
Okay.
And then now it's swapped around where she still works for the same company, but she's able to do it from home.
Oh.
So that was a nice little thing. So she still works from home. And, and the kids are all self-sufficient as far as schooling pretty much at this point because they're high school now. So and the older 2 are out. My older daughter went to Biola.
Oh, okay.
She went to Hancock.
Okay, great.
For 2 years, and she did Biola for 2 years. She got her degree in her bachelor's in child psychology.
Okay.
Which is interesting because she went in to Hancock wanting to do fashion. She wanted to do costume design for films.
Oh.
That was kind of her aspiration. She would watch, I don't know if you're familiar with names, but Colleen Atwood was her favorite because she'd watch.
Oh, okay.
She did a bunch of the costumes like in Tim Burton movies and stuff like that. She was like, oh, this is so cool. I would love to do this. But then she took like Psychology 101 at Hancock, just a part of general ed, and fell in love with it.
Okay.
She just fell in love with it and the study of that kind of stuff. And then she loves working with kids. So then her and her husband were living, after she graduated and he graduated, they were living down at Whittier. And she was working with kids on the spectrum. Doing behavioral therapy stuff with kids on the spectrum. And then she just moved back a couple months ago, and she was able to transfer here. So now she does the same thing out of San Luis.
Oh, wow.
So she's got like 9 or 10 clients or so or something that she meets with every week, and she just does behavioral therapy.
Is she like board certified? Like behavioral?
Oh, yeah.
She's BCBA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now she's just started going back to school to get her master's.
Great.
So, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So anyway,
awesome.
So that's my little brief introduction there. But let's get back to you.
Okay.
I kind of took over that there.
Well, so you'll find this out about me too, right?
Okay.
But so in a bit I'll tell you. But in the military, I was a journalist.
You went in the military?
Yeah, I did.
Right out of high school? No.
No. Years
later.
Years later.
Interesting. Okay.
I was a journalist, so that's when I became accustomed to like interviewing people.
Oh, nice.
And then I've been a recruiter for the last 15 years.
Oh, dang.
So all I do is listen and ask questions. Okay. So if you find me like starting to turn it, just tell me to stop.
No, I'm fine with it.
It's my natural inclination.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm fine with us just conversing and seeing where it goes. I don't want to be like if you're talking about something, I'm gonna be like, well, hey, and I did, Yeah. So, I mean, we got plenty of time, so we'll get to all that stuff.
But you'll see that in my just personality and just my work experience.
Okay.
So just a forewarning.
So does that explain like kind of the ripped physique? Because you're like a recruiter for the military, you got to look like the part.
I'm definitely not a recruiter for the military.
I mean, not the military. No, didn't you say you're a recruiter?
I was. I'm a recruiter now.
Now you are, yeah. Okay.
In the military, I was a journalist.
Journalist. Yeah. Right. So you're like that little guy in what was that movie?
We've been in a few movies. So like.
There was the one guy. It was the greatest character. It's one of my
Robin Williams
favorite movies. Him. Nope, that's not the one.
Joker?
Nope. It's older than that. Dang it! It's got Ed Harris is in it, I think. Wait.
Maybe I didn't see that one.
Am I thinking the right movie? It was the guy that plays Voldemort.
Okay, Ray Fiennes.
It was his brother that played this part I'm thinking of.
Oh, maybe I missed that one.
Joseph Fiennes, yes. And I want to say it was Ed Harris and was it Jude Law?
Really?
They were competing snipers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Enemy at the Gates.
Enemy at the Gates.
That's what it's called. Yes.
That is a great movie.
Oh, so good. Was it Jude Law?
It was Jude Law.
Okay.
He played
the other guy.
The other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Russian.
Russian
Right. And then Ed Harris was like the American that came in to take out, because like this guy's taking out all the generals.
Yes.
The sniper's taking out all the generals. We got to send you in to take out that sniper.
I think Ed Harris played a Nazi.
Okay.
And
is that what it was?
Jude Law
Okay.
played a Russian.
A Russian. Okay. Two Americans playing different. Yeah. But both those guys are amazing actors.
Both of them are amazing. Yeah. That was a great movie.
Okay.
Though.
Is that the one though where Joseph Fiennes played the reporter guy?
Yeah, he was like a military journalist.
Gotcha.
But the two most famous ones are Joker from the Marine Corps movie where I can't remember the name.
Oh, Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Joker was a military journalist.
You said Joker, and I was thinking like the movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I should have clarified. And the other one was, and Robin Williams played him. Good Morning
Vietnam. Yeah.
And he actually went to DINFOS.
Okay.
Which is the Defense Information School where we did our training.
Yeah.
To become a military journalist. But to circle back.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm in San Francisco. Moved to San Diego.
Mm-hmm. With this girl. Okay. You guys are pretty serious to move in together.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're living together in La Jolla. She's teaching at this university called National University.
Okay.
Which is it's a private for-profit school.
Okay.
She got me to enter into the Master's in Education program.
Oh, nice.
Because I didn't know, and she thought I'd be a good teacher, and I always enjoyed like the thought of teaching.
And you were still kind of undecided anyway, right?
Yes, I'm totally undecided at this point.
Yeah.
I'm working like for a temp agency, just like trying different things. And so I start the MEd program at National University.
Okay.
Where eventually. She and I didn't work out, primarily because I was a budding alcoholic at this point.
Okay.
So we went our own way. Okay. But I continued with the MEd program, and I was doing my student teaching. And when I was doing my student teaching, I was at an underperforming school in Oceanside.
Okay.
And that was the most frightening experience of my life. Like, the last memory I have is just this junior high school kid. I was teaching junior high.
Oh, wow.
It was this, junior high school kid just throwing a desk at me, picking up his desk and throwing at me. So I'm like, I love coaching.
Yeah.
I'll coach anything.
Right. And this is before all like the cell phones everywhere, so there's no viral video of this kid throwing a desk at you?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, zero.
That would have been kind of cool to have.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, after it's all over and you're not worried anymore, you're like, oh, you can show my grandkids this someday. Look at this kid throwing a desk at me. Don't be like that kid.
Yeah, and I had no idea what to do, and I'm just like staring at him.
Oh my gosh.
So come 2002 or 2001, decided to let the dream of teaching go. Okay. I have nothing but respect for teachers. I think what they do.
I couldn't do it.
But I just couldn't do it.
I couldn't either.
Yeah.
There's no way.
No way. I just didn't. It wasn't for me.
Right.
So at that point, I'm like, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I go to a military recruiter.
And how old are you at this point?
25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I'm talking to him, and I'm preferring to go to OCS because I have a degree. Mm-hmm. But I'd also racked up a lot of student loans in the MEd program at National University. Yeah. So they present to me these two options. I could do supply officer, which is basically living on a ship. Mm. Or I could do go into journalism and be a JO. And, there's very few of them in the entire Navy. I think there's only like 300. Okay. And, it's a well sought after rate. You had to score high on the ASVAB to get it. Oh, okay. So I was smart. I just never worked.
Right. Yeah. So would do they offer you those two positions because of your age and because of your like degrees and stuff that you had? They're like, okay, this guy's already he's already cooked. Yes. He's already seasoned. Yes. We're not going to throw him in as a grunt into the fighting or whatever, be like an actual soldier in that sense. Yes. We'll give this guy a higher position. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And also, because that's what I had sort of disseminated to them. Like, this is what I was interested in. Okay. If even at that age and with my education at that point, if I would have like gone to a Marine Corps recruiter or an Army recruiter, I would have, and gone enlisted, I would have been right there, at the, front lines. Yeah. But instead, I was like,
scored well on the ASVAB, and I kind of told them, I was looking at like admin type stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, if I could like get a job where I won't get killed, that'd be great.
Yeah, exactly.
You got anything like that available?
Yeah. So they presented like yeoman, which is like an administrative position in the military, and JO, and I was like intrigued by JO.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I get to combat correspondence.
Right.
It turned out to be different. I'll tell you in a minute.
I bet.
But also at this point, I had met another woman in San Diego.
Okay.
Who would be my first ex-wife.
Okay.
Although we weren't really married, per se. In fact, I was about to break it off with her when she told me she was pregnant.
Oh. Okay.
So, and this is like, right as I'm joining the military. And so I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, we'll do this.
Where you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, now I remember. Well, she told me she couldn't get pregnant either.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty,
you fall for that.
They all say that.
25, 26.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, that's great.
Yeah.
And then she's pregnant.
Right.
So we got married at a karate dojo in San Diego.
Nice, dude.
By a sensei.
Awesome.
Who also had a side gig rolling as he was ordained.
Hey.
So
doesn't take much these days. You can go online and get a certificate in like an hour.
Exactly. So we did that. But I was going in, so I went to Chicago.
Okay.
Did my.
That's where they stationed you? Was in Chicago?
No, that's where you go to Great Lakes, Illinois, to go to basic training.
Okay.
And I loved basic training.
Really?
Oh yeah, I loved it. It was by far my favorite part.
Usually everybody hates that.
Oh no, I loved it.
Huh.
All it was working out and teamwork and camaraderie and collaboration. And,
all right.
I was older than most of the other guys.
Yeah.
So they gave me a leadership role straight away.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's why you liked it.
Yeah. So I was the master at arms, which is supposed to be like the disciplinarian of like your of your class, and there was probably like 80 guys in my class, and we all lived together.
Yeah.
And you're in like a big dormitory that they say is like a ship, like this side's port side, you know, and so forth.
Which I never remember which is which.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Even I don't. But so I really enjoyed that experience, and I won like sailor of our class and things like that, and
wow.
it was just my favorite part.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was no access to alcohol, so like I was healthy again, like like when I first was there, I was like, I think I stopped drinking like 2 or 3 weeks before boot camp.
Okay.
And I was running a lot and like trying to work out.
Just kind of like trying to prepare yourself?
Trying to prepare myself. So I pretty much cleansed my system. But just know at this point, I'm not like I am now, where I'm like obsessed with fitness and working out 12 times a week.
Yeah.
But so I was like, okay, I got to the point where I could run 2 miles and sweat it all, the alcohol left in the system. So I'm like, I go there. It was really hard at first. And then by the end of it, man, I was just like dialed in. Man, I probably dropped 30, 40 pounds and just looked good and ready to go. And then discharged, and then I went to Fort Meade in Maryland.
Okay.
And this is where we go to A school.
Okay.
So this is where you learn how to be a journalist. And they teach in the Navy, it's a year-long process. They teach you print journalism, and they teach you broadcast journalism.
Okay.
So you do 2 different... like I'd say like semesters. The first semester for like, somebody that like 5 or 6 months of print and then broadcasting. Right. And you read copy and, it was really just a lot of fun. I got to be a weatherman.
Fun.
Like green screen and
learn
all these fun things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And did your wife go with you then? So she was living.
Oh, absolutely. We weren't even together. Like we were married on paper, but in the military.
Oh, I see.
This way, Sydney, my daughter, had TRICARE health insurance. Ansley had TRICARE health insurance. Okay. They were both covered. You get BAH if you're in the military too, which is basic allowance for housing. Yeah. So in addition to my menial pay, which I swear to God, Ryan, was like $900 a month or something like that, you get like BAH based off where your spouse lives. And because she lived in like San Diego and then Santa Maria. Right. you get like another $1,500 to your paycheck, which is sizable.
Nice.
But she took all that.
Right.
So I didn't see it. Yeah, she took like 80% of mine.
But she had your baby with her the whole time. So that was helpful probably.
Yeah. And then she met a man who would become her husband.
Okay.
Who had a huge part in raising my daughter.
Oh, okay.
And, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
They since divorced.
Okay.
But he's still a very active part of my daughter's life.
That's so cool.
I'll circle back to him later because my daughter just got her first job as an actuarial analyst in Omaha, Nebraska.
Whew.
And she's leaving. She's on the road. This is the morning they're leaving.
Oh, really?
Yep. So she left this morning for Omaha to start work November 4th for an insurance company doing property.
How old is she?
22.
Okay.
She has graduated UCSB.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so yeah, at this point in the Navy, then you go to your duty station, and so I was in Virginia, and it was just a really positive experience, But at this point, drinking started to become more of an issue.
Okay.
Because you're not in boot camp, you're and you have freedom now.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so that was my first foray into like rehab.
Okay.
Was in the Navy.
So you actually started to feel like you had an issue.
I had an issue before.
Okay.
But like it had like come to command's attention.
Okay.
And they had asked me to go to what's called level 3 rehab in Norfolk, Virginia, and so did that. And unfortunately, didn't work.
Right.
It did while I was there.
Sure.
And then maybe a little time after.
Yeah.
But it kept being an issue. Mm-hmm. And so I would discharge in 2006.
Okay.
And come back to Santa Maria. Now at this point, my now ex-wife was living here.
Okay.
Remarried to her new husband, and so I came back here and. It was like I didn't have much direction. Right. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Was your family still here at that time? Like your parents and stuff?
In fact, they're still here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad and mom divorced when I was 2 in 1978. Mm-hmm. But both were here.
They both stayed in the same town?
Both. Well, that was in Los Angeles. My mom was in LA, but then moved here eventually with my grandmother.
Okay.
And so everybody was here,
yeah.
But I came back and, I was really struggling with alcoholism at this point and, didn't have much direction. So, I started living at my dad's and then that became an issue because I think I was drinking like all their alcohol.
Oh boy.
And I wasn't like showing much direction and stuff. So then I went to go live with my mom and my Nana here in Santa Maria as well. And still continued to be an issue. And then in 2005, I did like this. That was like my first. So I'm about 29 at this point, and or 2006. It was 2005, 2006. But it was my first attempt at like really getting sober.
Okay.
So, I started to go to AA. Started to go to the gym, started to, really just like work the program, work the steps, have a sponsor,
right?
Find a higher power, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which, immediately led to success. Like, I got a good job here locally. Was, going to the program, going to the sponsor with my gym every day or going to the gym with my sponsor every day. So things are starting to look up. Find a relationship with a teacher here locally.
Oh, wow.
And we moved in together. She was also in the program.
Okay.
So
that's usually how that works.
It happens.
It's easy to like
yes.
communicate and understand somebody who's having the same issues. Yeah.
It's good if you have a lot more than just that.
Right.
As a foundation.
Right.
There are a lot of couples that I see in AA that would have never gotten together otherwise. We should have gotten together.
Sure.
So that was working and everything was good until I relapsed. And then, everything kind of fell apart. With me, that happens pretty quickly.
Okay.
If there's a relapse. So,
yeah.
The job, the girl.
Well, because you figure she didn't relapse at that point, right? So that would be hard for her.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to stay on the wagon.
She's trying to, of course. Yeah.
Right.
You don't want to be a liability.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, so we part ways, you know, and at this point again, I'm like, you know, floundering, trying to figure out what to do next. And so I met another woman.
Okay. You see, you're good at that at this point. See,
yes.
The high school you was bad at that.
Oh, high school.
But then as soon as you hit Europe, now you're like the ladies' man.
Yes, exactly.
Mac Daddy extraordinaire.
Mac Daddy extraordinaire, yeah. Well, like, it's hard to explain why, because it's not like I was offering much at the time. But so I meet another woman, and so we're in San Ynez, and this would lead into like another foray into like staying sober.
Okay.
And I started working in the fitness industry.
Oh, wow.
And so this is when like my love of like fitness developed.
Yeah.
So I started with 24-hour fitness.
Like the gym?
The gym in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And I was sales manager, club manager.
Okay.
Did personal training. So I was, you know, this was like, I found my thing. I was like, I love working with people.
Yeah.
Building like, you know, a healthy foundation for them.
Sure.
And doing personal training.
Well, it's rewarding.
It's so rewarding.
Yeah.
So rewarding. And things didn't work out with that woman. I actually got engaged to her.
Oh, wow.
And it just didn't work.
Okay.
And then I would then meet my wife, who was also suffering from alcoholism. And so...
but you weren't at the time.
No, I was not.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was, God, I don't know, I was probably dating like 3 or 4 women.
Okay.
I think when I met my wife.
What a stud.
God. I was just out of control, Ryan. Like, I was good at that and drinking.
You gave up your addiction to alcohol, and then you developed an addiction to women.
And, you know, that happens.
So,
and, you know, people will take up smoking, this, that, whatever.
Trade one thing for the next.
Trade one thing for another, you know. And for me, you know, a lot of it was like exercise. And that still exists today for me. But when I met my wife, you know, I'd cut out like, you know, we were both drinking like when we first met.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like our foundation. Like I remember when like I went on a date with her and she came back to my place and like I had a bottle of vodka next to my bed. And she's like, I met my soulmate.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a bottle of vodka next to his bed too.
Yeah.
She's told this story many times.
Okay.
But so we were both kind of out of control, like for, you know, part of 2009. And then we both got sober.
Nice.
And that sobriety would lead for 11 years.
Oh, wow.
We were sober together.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
So, you know, at this point, I had transitioned from the fitness industry to recruiting, which is what I've been doing.
For the military?
Since. No, I was a journalist.
Oh, journaling in the military. That's why I'm confused. You're recruiting for...
I'm recruiting, at the beginning, manufacturing, admin, professional.
Okay.
Now I do clinical recruiting. So like, you know, like your wife, like I recruit for BCBAs, which is board certified behavior analysts who work with autistic kids. Okay. I recruit for licensed marriage family therapists, clinical social workers, psychiatrists, psychologists.
Well, help me understand what that means. Like, what do you, like, these companies hire you to get more people to come to their program, or? Yeah,
so I work with nonprofits around the country. Okay. And so a lot of them service foster kids, they service autistic kids, they service OCD, you know, speech issues, so speech pathologists I also recruit for. Okay. So they utilize our company. The company I work for is called MediPro Medical Staffing. And so, you know, I've built this rapport with this particular client. They've let us know their needs, that they're having a lot of trouble filling. And there's a huge shortage of people that work in the mental health industry. Yes. It's really like once your wife gets her master's.
Daughter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Once your daughter, once your daughter gets her master's, then, I mean, her road is set. Like, my stepsister's daughter just got her master's in that. Oh, wow. And is starting to work, but like there's a huge void. So
I wonder if they know each other.
They very well could. I mean, that
would be interesting.
My stepsister's daughter is 24, went to St. Joe's though.
Okay. But I mean, like if they're both working as ABAs or whatever, maybe they know each other through that.
Except mine works in Santa Clara County.
Oh, okay.
North, so they'll come to us. We will tell them, here's our fee. So we typically charge, 20% of like first year annual salary. So for, anywhere from psychiatrists making $350K to behavior analysts making 80 to 100K, that's how we make our money. And I get like a portion of that on top of a base. But like, recruiting's a good industry. You're basically a matchmaker.
It's a good industry if you're good at it.
If you're good at it. And so many people
you have to be personable. You have to be the
Yes.
kind of person who likes people and is able to communicate with them well and,
Yes.
and get to know them on that level.
Exactly.
Like if you're the kind of person who hates people
Yes.
and has no interest in talking to people. He's like, I can't wait till I get out of work so I just don't have to talk to anybody. It's like, that's probably not the best.
It's probably not. Yeah. You're building relationships like
Right.
all day long.
Yeah.
And you're trying to like, work with a candidate, gain their trust, and then you're also trying to service the client, and you're that facilitator between.
Okay.
But here's the funny thing. So I'm a total introvert, Ryan.
Really?
Total introvert.
I would not guess that at all.
People don't. Yeah. If there's the Myers-Briggs, which does like psychology.
Yeah.
So I test as an INFJ.
Okay.
It's called the extroverted introvert. So I have like all the skills of an extrovert, but I'm an introvert.
Interesting.
Yeah. I like going to movies by myself.
Okay.
I like, if you ever see me in the gym, I'm the guy that looks absolutely unapproachable.
I would be too.
Yeah.
Not that I've been to a gym in 20 years, but if I was, I would be that guy because, like, I don't want people.
No.
It's like that. I always quote Jim Gaffigan on here. I don't know if you ever heard his.
I love Jim Gaffigan.
Have you heard the one where he's talking about going to the gym? And he's talking about that. Why does this guy want to talk to me?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're running real fast. You're sweating. Looks like he wants to chat.
Yeah.
Say, what are you listening to? Oh, me, I'm listening to instructions on how to kill you.
Yeah. I love Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah,
I love Jim
great.
Gaffigan too because his approach on parenting.
Oh, dude, he's hilarious. Oh man, he's probably him, and then my other favorite is Brian Regan.
Yeah.
Who's not as well known, but but you do know of him.
I do know.
Okay.
Yeah, but not as much. I've heard him on YouTube, but I don't know him as well.
Okay. He just performed in Solving.
Did he really?
At the PCPA theater that's outdoor right there.
Oh, I've gone to that many times.
Yeah,
In fact, I was just there a few months
Regan
ago.
was there. That's probably been about a year now, actually, now I think about it. A while back, me and my friend went and saw him.
I didn't know that they had comedy at
I didn't either until I saw that. Oh, Brian Regan's going to be this close? Oh, dude, I got to go. So, yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, there's no bad seat in the house there.
No.
Yeah.
Because it's so small.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have been to some PCPA shows there, and they're great.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it's like in the summer, and it's still warm outside, in the evening, it's nice.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to be there when it's cold.
No.
But still.
Yeah. It's in fact, I think it was 2 months ago or 3 months ago I was there.
Yeah.
And it was gorgeous. It was like 80 degrees. I think there was the fire going on. My wife and I both decided to get sober.
Uh-huh.
And, and we ended up both being sober for 10 or 11 years.
Yeah.
And it was just the most amazing decade from 2010 to 2020. Like both our careers flourished.
Mm-hmm.
In that time span, my wife, went from, being addicted to cigarettes, alcohol, and cocaine.
Oh, dang.
To cutting all of that out. Wow. She was 1 minute away from qualifying for the Olympic trials in the women's marathon for the United States.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Never had ran in her life. And
just from training and getting off all the stuff.
Just from training, getting off all the stuff.
Oh,
and
wow.
she was training in she was in Santa Barbara with me at this point. So we're living in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And I was a runner. So like my dad growing up entered me into every race locally that there was. And he ran 50 marathons himself. So he was a huge runner and sort of instilled in that in my sister and I. Mm-hmm. And so I took her, even though I was a big kid, I could still run.
Right.
Like not fast.
Right.
But I could run for distance.
Yeah.
And so I took her out on a couple runs. I remember one in Ventura when we were just like 2 or 3 months sober.
Okay.
And I'm like just gassed, man. I ran like a mile.
Yeah.
And I was just toast. And she was just dipping along like,
She's a natural at it.
And I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
And if you saw like her physique, like she was clearly meant to be a runner. She was a cheerleader in high school.
Okay.
But she was meant to be a runner.
Yeah.
Like her legs were solid muscle.
Oh, boy.
And her dad was a really good triathlete. Like the genetics and everything were there.
Yeah.
And so within like a year, we had entered the Los Angeles Marathon. And, we had no idea what we were doing. We like go to the expo. She buys her shoes for the marathon at the expo. You don't ever do that in running.
No,
because you need to break them in. You need to
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because you don't want to run the same day as brand new shoes you just put on. Yeah.
And she ended up getting like a couple blisters, but I mean, like it was a total learning process.
Mm-hmm. But
within a couple years, she was the fastest adult female in Santa Barbara.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, and just getting faster and faster.
That's the kind of story like people write a book about. They make a movie. Spielberg comes in and makes a dramatic movie about it.
I know. It was they wrote articles about her in the Santa Barbara Independent.
Oh, wow.
Like she was in Newshawk articles all the time there. Wow. She like set the record for a lot of Santa Maria runs, like the Bull Canyon run.
Okay. Yeah.
The 10K here, she set the record for that.
Okay.
For women, and she was just blazing. And then she the last marathon she did, was Chicago Marathon, and she ran a 2:46, which is 1 minute away from the qualifying time for to run in the Olympic trials. Wow. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, but during that decade, our careers flourished. Me as a recruiter, her in a bookkeeping business.
Okay.
And unfortunately, all that fell apart during the pandemic. Which happened to a lot of people that suffer from addiction.
Sure.
So we both unfortunately relapsed in 2020 after 11 years.
Yeah.
As well as many of my friends. My sponsor did too, and he unfortunately died during that time span.
Oh wow.
From his addiction.
Dang.
But in 2020 we moved from West LA, where I was working, to Santa Barbara because everything was remote at this time.
Right.
And we were both good, and then Joy, my wife, kept unfortunately having issues
with addiction. You mean
with addiction? Okay. And I'm not sure if you knew this from Facebook, but
I saw that she passed away.
She passed away.
Okay.
10 months ago.
Oh, that's still that recent.
Still that recent.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, and I was right there when it happened.
Was it from like an overdose or something? Or
the death certificate says heart.
Okay.
But in my opinion, it was definitely alcohol
Something related. Okay.
Yeah.
That's gnarly, dude.
I know.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. We'd gone on a nice trip to Palm Springs where everything was going great, and we had a great time. She was sober. And then unfortunately, and this was right before she passed, she drank, she went to the general store there and got a pint of vodka, and that kind of just took her through. And then when she passed, I relapsed.
I bet.
Yeah, because I just had
It's understandable.
No way to deal with this, change, because she was my person. That was the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with.
Sure.
And then to have that taken away just out of nowhere at 48 years old, I was just
I can't imagine.
shook.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but I'm it's been a process. I went through Santa Barbara Hospice, their grief counseling, and coming out the other side now.
Yeah.
But,
which is still pretty recent. You said, 10 months ago?
10 months ago, yeah.
That's a pretty quick...
Yeah.
I mean, to relapse and then to get through that, and I know you're not through it. I mean, are you ever really going to completely
definitely, Facebook will always remind you. It's like
yes,
memories. With, every day I wake up to that, or Google pictures from 2019. And you're just like, you shouldn't go through it, but you do.
Of course.
And then you're just like,
and you wish you didn't. And
wish you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happens on a daily.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also nice too to see the life we built.
You remember the good stuff.
Yeah, we remember the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah. That's like...
But that was, that was incredibly hard.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I can't even, like I said, I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, I didn't think I could. I mean, I still have trouble fathoming it. But yeah, she,
Yeah, because I kind of have maybe morbid mind's not the right word, but I kind of have I think about bad stuff sometimes. Like I think about like worst case scenario and stuff, and I think about that. Like, what would happen if something happened to Bethany?
Yeah.
Like, and I always think like if she take a trip to San Diego or something to see your kids or whatever, I'm like, what if they get in a car crash and die?
Yeah.
Like, I think that stuff. And it's like, the odds of that happening are slim to none. I mean, possible, but slim to none. But that's where my mind goes, Yeah. I always go to the worst case scenario. Like, if my phone number rings at 2 o'clock in the morning, my first thought is, who died?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
One of my parents is dead. Something happened. My older son, something happened to him, because he comes home real late at night all the time. It's like, but it's never that.
Yeah.
It's all, I mean, if it's my son, it's like, oh, hey, Dad, I ran out of gas, or I forgot my house key. Can you get up and let me in, or whatever, right? It's something minor like that, but that's not where my mind goes.
No.
Ever.
I know.
And I don't know why I work like that,
No,
but
it's never on something mundane.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. But I mean, I've actually pondered that in depth and thought to myself, I don't know how I could even continue after that. But
yeah.
But I also know that other issues in my life that I've had that aren't that severe, of course, I've never had that happen to me, but other things where I think about it, like if this ever happened, there's no way I could do this. But when it happens, I get through it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, I think about one example I can use is my older son, the 22-year-old. When he was born with, that's called tetralogy of Fallot. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's basically your heart's in 4 chambers, right? 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, he was born with 2 on the top and just 1 big one on the bottom. So he's basically missing that wall that would separate the 2 bottom chambers. So he just had 1 big chamber. So that messes with the flow of blood back and forth.
Got it.
So when he was born, he was like blue. He was like purplish blue. And we're like, what is going on? And he was our second child. He's like, we don't remember this happening with the first one. So the pediatrician came in and he checked him out. He's like, he's got a little heart murmur. It's pretty common. A lot of kids have it. It's not a big deal. But there's a small possibility it could be this one thing. So we want to rule that out. So we're going to have the cardiologist come in and check him out. Okay, yeah, no problem. Cardiologist comes in, does all the tests, and then leaves. And then, a couple hours later, the original pediatrician comes in. He doesn't look happy. And he's like, well, the one thing that I said it had a small chance of being, it is that. It's like, oh, really? Fantastic. And he's like, he goes, the bad news is he's going to need open heart surgery. He said, the good news is this particular surgery is a high success rate surgery. Okay. It's really, it's amazing what they can do now on these little tiny people. It's like, dude, he's like 2 months old. I mean, how do you work on a body that small? Yeah. But I think so. But my point is, he got through the surgery just fine. Everything was good. He had another one when he was like 15. He had a second surgery. There's a chance he might need another one at some point in life. Okay. But these are not as invasive as the first one. Okay. Good. So, but my point is, if I think about things like that, like if I was to sit down here and kind of close my eyes and just meditate and think deeply about something like that happening to any of my children right now. Yeah. Right. I can give myself anxiety just thinking about it. Like I'll freak out. Like I get all worried. Oh my gosh, this big old thing. There's no way I can get through that. No way I can get through that. But when I was in it with my son, we were fine. Yeah. Like I wasn't worried. I wasn't stressed. There was nothing. It was just, I just knew he was going to be all right. Like I was fine. Like it was okay, Like they wheeled him in. I've told the story before, but it's kind of funny in a weird way, in a morbid way. They're wheeling him in for surgery when he's like 6 months old. And he's laying on his back, and his arm goes up like this as they're wheeling him away, right? So my wife loses it. Oh, yeah. She's like, he's saying goodbye. He's telling us goodbye. And she's like freaking out. And I'm like calm as a cucumber. I'm like, babe, no, he's telling us it's going to be all right. Yeah. I'll be back soon. Everything's going to be okay. That's how I took it. But she was freaking out, right? Like she was taking it totally different direction. The way I would have taken it normally, like in my normal state, that would have been me freaking out. But I didn't. So then there's all these other things that happen throughout my life. And when I'm in the situation, I'm not freaking out. Yeah. It's only when I'm thinking about a potential situation that I freak out. Yeah. So it's like, that teaches me something. It's like, look, Ryan, stop worrying about stuff because if you're ever in something, you know what? You're going to get through it okay. Yeah. Something's going to happen to change your psyche, change your emotional state, whatever, and you're going to get through it okay. That's good to know. So it's like, good to know about yourself. Yeah. I mean, and again, I've never had anything horrific. Like I've never lost, I've never gone through what you did. I mean, I think about it and I can't even imagine going through something like that. Yeah. Because I mean, as all of us, I mean, our lives are such a huge part of everything. Oh, yeah. So I mean, it's my gosh. But, yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry you had to go through that. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story too. Gnarliness. Yeah, but it's been an evolution since she passed.
I've had a great support system in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
A lot of really good friends.
Good.
And,
Good.
Even the program of AA has been, really helpful.
Yeah.
Playing tennis has been really
Yeah.
helpful. I'm playing tennis, Ryan.
That's awesome. No, I've seen it on
6 days a
Facebook.
week.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I've played probably 3 times in the last 15 years.
No kidding?
Yeah.
Dude, there's a lot of people who do get back into it.
Okay.
After taking that much time off.
Yeah.
And like it'll suck at first.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you'd
it
be
does.
like, I used to be able to like.
It's like, what happened?
And you're like, why isn't this working?
Right. It's like, I used to be
will.
good at this.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so many people who come back after 10, 20
Yeah.
years.
You eventually
and then
pick it up.
It's a process, but
Yeah.
then they're back where they were.
Isn't that weird?
And then better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just, it's like, they say it's like riding a bike or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's a little different because you have to work a little harder to get back to where you were.
Yep.
But probably 3 or 4 years ago, I had a buddy that I'm friends with that found out he played tennis. So we were playing about once a week.
Oh, good.
And that kind of started to happen eventually. Started to get a little better. And then I
Yeah.
hurt my knee, so I stopped playing.
Oh.
And then,
That'll do it.
yeah, getting old,
Yeah.
But so now I pretty much only play if I go to Washington to visit Danny.
Okay. Does Danny still play too?
About as much as I do.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a couple buddies up there he plays with occasionally.
Okay.
But when I go up there, I'll bring my racket and we'll go. I still have my racket, same one I had in high school.
Oh my God, we gotta get you a new racket.
I think it's got the same strings on it too.
Jeez, surprised those haven't like withered.
Well, they're the Kevlar.
Okay.
Because I was using the Kevlar because
I
that's
didn't even
when
know we had Kevlar in the.
Well, there was like a new thing, and I remember. Oh boy, I don't know, like Dave Dancer. Do you remember any of these people, like Dave Dancer?
I worked for Dave Dan. That was my first job in high school.
Okay.
At the country club.
At the country club, right? So he was the pro at the country club.
Yeah.
And there was Minor.
Yeah.
You remember Minor?
Yeah, Minor passed away.
He passed away. Yeah, he was
From-
my coach
from
when he
cocaine
passed
addiction.
away. I know.
Yeah.
I still remember that. I mean, he was literally my coach at that time.
Yeah.
I was still in high school when that happened.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
was gnarly.
Minor taught all the
Yeah,
juniors.
yeah, he was fun. But they had started stringing, and they talked about this there's this new Kevlar. It lasts longer, it doesn't break easy, and it gives you a wicked spin.
Yeah.
And my whole game was topspin.
Yeah.
Like I had a just gnarly forehand, which is topspin.
That's what I remember. You and Danny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My backhand, not so much, but the forehand,
forehand.
I was the guy that would literally run all the way around if I had time to hit a forehand
inside
over
out
a
on the
backhand. Yeah,
forehand.
absolutely. Because
Yeah.
I was like Agassi.
Yeah.
Right. Agassi only hit a backhand when he had to.
Yep.
Yeah,
it
so
was just a push shot.
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
To set up for that
Yeah,
forehand.
exactly. So that was kind of nice. Yeah. So I still have those same Kevlar strings, never broke.
Wow.
I'm sure, like, if they did the test or whatever to see, like, are these actual, like, good working strings? Probably not.
No. Oh my God.
But at least they didn't break.
They didn't. Well, it's Kevlar. I mean,
Right.
it's supposed to be bulletproof.
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, so when I come back Santa Maria, then Ryan, we're gonna get you out.
Okay.
But,
all right.
but I think
well, fair warning.
I think you need to use one of my sticks.
Maybe,
not
yes.
not one of
I
your-
promise you, I will not be anywhere near your level if
Wilson
you
Pro
play
Scouts
6
from
days. Yeah,
92.
yeah. I think that's what it is. Actually,
Oh my God, I wouldn't doubt
I
it.
think it is a
Yeah.
Wilson Pro.
Yeah, but I've kind of been on a revenge tour of
Okay.
like everybody from our team
Oh yeah.
playing them, and
Like who? Throw some names at me.
so Marcus. He beat me though 7-5. But we only played one set. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
I played him a few times.
He was here.
Yeah, he was in Santa Monica a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the
Wow.
way, he's like the CEO of a
Oh
major,
my gosh, dude.
major, Fortune 500 company in Sweden.
Okay.
So
he
I-
still lives in Sweden.
Still lives in Sweden. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure he's going to be prime minister.
Is he married and stuff?
He's married,
Kids?
has kids. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. CEO of a huge company that has
Okay.
employees in like 30 countries.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he's going to be prime minister of Sweden in like
So
10,
cool.
20 years. So
That's
just
so cool.
look out for that.
Yeah, you'll be prophetic right now. You're calling him
Exactly.
ahead of
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we're like talking about Prime Minister Gronlund.
One of the things I remember about Marcus was that he would get frustrated that nobody could pronounce his last name.
Yes.
And he's like, it's not hard. It's what, and he'd say it. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand how hard that is for me to say.
We're not used to that.
Yeah, it's like, that's
Yeah.
it. He's like, it's not hard at all. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe from where you're from, but you know.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
And then, so most recently, Marcus. And then do you remember June?
Yes.
The Thai guy?
Okay, no, I saw you post that.
Yes.
And then I had said something, and then Oliver?
Yeah.
And then Oliver friend requested me on Facebook after I commented on your post. And I was
Awesome.
like, dude, haven't talked to you in forever either.
Yeah.
It's
So
like there's
I-
all these people.
So Oliver I beat.
Okay.
June I killed.
Oh, good.
But
You show him.
yeah, but
He was
again,
from Thailand, right?
Thailand.
Okay.
And again, his name Pirasit G.
Yeah.
Gmail.
Yeah, I remember that. He's like, this is my
Yeah.
name, but just call me June.
June, just call
All
me
right,
June.
good. That's a lot
he
easier
wasn't-
for me.
He wasn't like Marcus about his last name. I don't think anybody ever even tried to pronounce it. But I played and beat Sean.
Okay.
Hyatt.
Sean
Who was
Hyatt?
Yeah.
Dude, he was like
Yeah.
That guy was hardcore in high school.
Sean was a pro.
I could never even come close to him.
He went on the ITF tour.
He did.
After college, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. He'd allow us to play him in high school, and I think he beat me like 6-0 like 10 times.
Dude, he was so good.
He beat me in like 7 minutes. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And he didn't even look like he was trying.
Yeah.
He was so like just,
it was just
laid
so
back.
Fluid
yes.
and just from the baseline and stuff on both sides.
And he had that weird serve where he would throw it up and then he would take a second step with his foot.
Yeah.
So both his feet would kind of come together and then he would hit it. But it was gnarly.
It was gnarly. Yeah. Yeah. And so when I played him as this was probably a couple years ago.
Okay.
He wasn't at his best.
He hadn't been playing in years, probably.
He'd been playing, but he was just dealing with stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure if like he and I played a lot, and he got like his timing back, and he's got knee issues like you. So,
okay.
Yeah, but you could see it like a couple times. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'd be like in like a 4 or 5 shot rally with him. And then, I'd hit a great shot to the corner, and then he would just slam a winner like down the line or cross court as I'm like trying to come into volley. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, because he was #1 singles the entire time that I went.
He was a freshman.
Until he graduated.
Until he graduated.
That's the only time I took the #1 spot.
Good, he didn't even practice with us.
Right.
He practiced in Santa Barbara at Cathedral Oaks, where I play now.
Yeah.
But who he practiced with too, Jeff, is my next. So
okay.
Jeff and I keep.
Jeff Strong?
Jeff Strong.
Okay.
So I keep bothering Jeff. I'm like, I'm supposed to see him November 9th. Nice. At the chili cook-off. I'm like, we're playing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that guy, dude. That guy was funny.
Oh, he was.
I remember, like, he was intense. Like, I remember
he's still.
Dude, we would win a match.
Yeah.
I still remember this. Like, we won a match against. I think it was against San Luis.
That's.
I want to say it's the one time that he beat Danny Castro.
Yep, I remember that.
Because he would always lose to Danny Castro. Because you remember we used to watch Danny Castro and Sean play.
Yeah.
And it was like neck and neck. Yeah. But then Jeff was the #2 singles.
Yeah.
So he would play him too.
He would play him too.
And he beat him one day. And I think it was at Rigetti. Like, it was on our home turf. And Jeff was so pumped. And I mean, I'm tired, dude. I just played like however many Masters. I'm totally tired.
You just played 3 times. Yeah.
And he goes, dude, I'm gonna go run a mile. Let's go run a mile.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, and he was almost upset with me because I wouldn't go run a mile with him. But that was just his personality. He was so full of life and so just all hyped up all the time. And when other people weren't the same way, he was kind of like, what's wrong? Like, oh my God. Let's do it.
Oh. He's still like that. Like I just went to the Oregon UCLA football game.
He went nice.
He played for the University of Oregon
in tennis, right? Yeah. Didn't he get a scholarship?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was like their #3 tennis player.
Yeah, he was great. He got that left-handed serve, man. It was gnarly.
6'6".
Yeah.
Oh, and so Jeff married a professional basketball player.
Oh no way.
Who's also 6'5" or 6'6".
Do they have just like giant children or
Their
what?
kids are off like his kid Aki. I think the kid's like 10.
Yeah.
Looks like he's 17.
Oh my gosh.
He comes out and I hadn't seen Aki in a long time.
Yeah.
And his other kid too is like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 or 7, and he looks like he's 15.
Wow.
They're just going to be easy, like 6'8", 6'9".
They're going to be in the
pros.
pros.
Like great water polo players already.
Nice, dude.
But he's still just as intense.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, that he hasn't lost that.
No, he'd just done a triathlon with Aki, on his 50th birthday when I went down there for his birthday party, which was just wild.
Wow, but, that's so awesome.
Yeah, but he's next on my list.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gonna smoke him?
I bet I'll beat him. I have trouble with lefties.
Okay.
Their serves, everything's backwards. Mm-hmm. I used to struggle with Jeff in basketball too, because they'd get the ball and they'd turn into the paint off the left part of the key instead of a righty, who has to go to the right.
Yeah. It's all sports.
It's all sports.
It's all sports.
Pitching,
even
baseball.
Boxing.
Boxing.
If someone's a southpaw, they have to train him a certain way to fight a southpaw.
Oh, it's so
right.
Yeah, I always wanted to be left-handed.
Yeah. Well, and that serve at the left-handed in tennis. So that he Jeff Strong is the reason. I've never said this publicly before, so it's the first time.
Okay.
This is heavy-duty stuff.
Heavy.
Man. Jeff Strong is the reason why when I play Mario Tennis, I choose Boo, and I make him left-handed.
Oh, there you go.
Dude, because I play against people, and like me and my cousin, we always play every year for Christmas. We play Mario Tennis, and it's intense. Like we're gnarly. We go 5 sets every time.
Very competitive.
So I use that left-handed spin slice serve, dude, and by the end of the match I have like 120 aces.
Oh yeah.
It just drives everybody nuts. I'm like, that's my Jeff Strong.
That's the Jeff. Yeah. You get so many free points. Like, I get no free points on my serve. My serve sucks.
Oh, mine was always bad. My first serve was great. My second serve was terrible.
Yeah,
I would literally bloop it over the net because I had so many double faults.
Yeah, exactly.
And they finally just tell me, Ryan, just get it over the net because it's better than a double fault.
Yeah.
Because that's no points.
That's no points.
You know, so I just started serving them cheese.
Yeah.
And they just, pound it down my throat.
Yep.
So, but at least it was one over the net. But.
I know. Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
That's so cool to hear that.
Tennis has just been a godsend.
Yeah.
The gym has been a godsend since Joy passed. I don't know if you knew this, but Joy and I both competed. She did bikini competition, and I did classic physique for bodybuilding.
Okay.
This was after running and my triathlon running.
So let me get this straight. So this shy, overweight high school kid.
Yeah.
No ladies. Had no game at all.
Well, you probably remember.
Ends up marrying a cheerleader swimsuit model.
Yeah.
And becoming a bodybuilder himself, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, dude, that's like the greatest success story you ever heard. That's like rags to riches right there, dude.
Oh, thank you. That is right. Yeah, I don't know if you know who Horatio Alger is.
I don't.
That's like when somebody says rags to riches, he was like the famous guy who did rags to riches.
Oh, gotcha.
But I've been to like our high school reunions a couple times. And
okay.
Yeah.
I've never gone to those.
Oh.
I'm always scared to go to those. Not scared, but like, I don't know. I mean, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I see like the Facebook messages going back and forth before those happen. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people, it's like they're still in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, we're going to get together and how many kegs and we're going to do this.
Oh, really?
They're not saying those exact words, but that's the vibe you kind of get. Like they're just like, it's like, dude, it's over.
Yeah.
Like, grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably different class by class and who is interested in kind of the reunions, because our class of 94, the ones who were like interested in the reunions now and stuff like that were not like the jocks or the is pretty much like just kind of the cool easygoing people. So so for at least for our class, it's interesting to definitely go back, and it's a different dynamic,
right?
Being like because I was like an unattractive overweight kid in high school, and then to go back and then be like in shape and like
especially if you find that bully kid who's always mean to you or something.
That kid was
thrown up against the wall.
Man,
what are you gonna do now, man?
I had one bully. I started at like May Grisham.
Oh, you went to May Grisham?
Yeah, I went to May Grisham.
Okay.
I don't know if I can say his name. His name was Willie Othout.
Okay.
And I think he beat up lots of kids.
He was just that kid.
So he was that kid. But my sister was my protector when I was little. Because when I was little, I was like a little skinny, just, tall kid that was just, And he would pull down my pants on the yard and then laugh at me, point at my junk and laugh at me. And I'd cry. And I remember I was in goal in soccer. We were playing soccer. And then he just runs up to me and punches me in the stomach.
Oh, my God.
And I fall over, and then my sister ran over and beat him up and threw him in a tree.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So that was my only bully.
And she's older than you, your sister, right?
She's a year
She went to Rigetti, too.
She went to Rigetti, too.
I think she was Danny's grade.
Yeah, she was Danny's grade. And
wasn't she homecoming something or
she
other?
Was all of that.
She's real popular, right?
Yeah, she was ASB president, 4.0. Yeah,
because I didn't know her personally,
soccer.
but I knew of her.
Yeah.
And I remember knowing she was your sister.
And a lot of people thought I was smart because of her.
Right.
They're like, well, Alex is so smart, Ian, not so much.
Yeah.
But she was a great sister, and
that's cool.
Because I grew up, with like my dad had married again.
Okay.
And so I had stepsisters who we totally love and get along with now.
Is she your full biological sister?
She's my full biological
Alex's,
sister.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when we all moved together in 1990, I had two stepsisters. One was my age, one was like 3 years older.
Okay.
And then, my sister. And when you do that, when you bring like 4 teenagers together, that are step siblings, there's like nobody likes each other at first.
Right.
Everybody hates each other,
Yeah.
We used to call it the blood-sucking Brady Bunch.
Nice.
Yeah. My sister would battle it. She put like bleach in my stepsister's shampoo.
Oh no.
She put all her bras in the dryer and tied them in a knot.
Oh. That's gnarly.
But she could never untie the knots.
That's hard. Somebody did that to me once. They took all my bras and tied them and put them in. It was gnarly, dude.
I bet it was.
I didn't recover very well from that. It was hard.
No, I'm sure you were pretty jaded. Yeah.
That's why I don't wear them anymore. That was the incident.
That was it.
That put me over the edge. Yeah.
No more bras.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's start digging in.
Okay.
Let's start with some music stuff. So this is something I know nothing about. I don't think I don't remember ever talking to you about music at all when I was.
I didn't know that you were really interested in music.
I'm huge into music. I have been my whole life. I love it. I love all genres of. I mean, when you knew me, high school, it was probably mostly just rap. That's all I would listen to back then.
That's kind of the vibe I got from you.
Okay, I was big into rap, and I started to get into like grunge rock when like Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and all that stuff started coming out. That's what pushed me into that, and then through that, I found punk rock, which to this day is my favorite genre.
Okay.
But I like everything.
Okay.
You know, people say, Ryan, what's your favorite genre? Good.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's.
You don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's electronica, if it's country, if it's whatever.
You
I don't
cover
care.
all the...
I like all of it. If it's good music, I like it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and there's songs and artists in every genre that I think suck terribly. I think they're terrible.
Yeah.
But the beauty of music, one of the beauties of music, is that it's subjective. It's not like I can talk about what I consider to be my favorite band. Like this band speaks to me. Every album, every song they write just hits me right in the soul. You could listen to it and go, "That is the worst music I've ever heard," and we're both right.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's
because there's no, it's like food. It's the same thing with food. Like, oh, this is my favorite food. That's nasty. What do you,
it's
you know?
Disgusting.
And you're both right.
Yeah.
There's no exactness about it. It's a matter of taste. You know.
Sure.
So I like to start like with the beginning of like if you can like your earliest time of enjoying music, like the first time you ever remember going, oh man, I like that, or
oh yeah,
okay.
Well, so we used to even do like music videos in my garage.
Okay,
like
you'd make music videos.
Oh god, like no, we didn't have recording, but we would like pretend like
like air guitars.
Air
and
guitar.
Stuff? Okay,
and we had a light bright in the corner. Remember that thing where you
little pegs in there.
Yeah, that was about as high tech as we got. Yeah,
that was your pyrotechnics and all that. Yeah. Light show.
Yep. Yeah. That's pretty high.
That's awesome.
High grade stuff.
So what would you guys like lip sing to like you play music and lip sing and make music videos, but you're pretending you were the rock stars.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. There was no camcorder.
Okay.
Nobody had $8,000 to buy one like it probably cost back then.
Oh, that's awesome.
But no, my first was Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, Starship.
Okay. Like Jefferson Starship?
Yep, Jefferson Starship.
Or back when they were just because they became just Starship.
Starship,
right?
Yeah.
Because they were Jefferson Airplane,
yep,
then Jefferson Starship,
yep,
and then Starship. So Starship was like, we built the city.
We built the city on land. And that would be one of the ones,
Yeah.
We'd be like 8. 7,
right.
And
is
like
that Sarah?
83.
I think Sarah was another one on there, right?
Yep.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Yep. Those are good songs, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
So that was, and Michael Jackson.
Okay.
That was like our.
So what was the first Michael Jackson song you remember hearing? Like what era was it? Was it like Thriller or was it later?
It was Thriller, Beat It.
Okay.
God, man, so many.
So that album, the Thriller album, probably Billie Jean and okay.
And just that's back when MTV played music videos.
Right.
I don't even know what I haven't seen MTV in like 20
years. They had to make an MTV 2.
Oh,
that one actually plays music.
Oh, do they do that now?
I don't know if they still do it because I don't even know if the channel even exists because
I don't either.
People stream everything now.
I know.
It's like if I want to watch a music video, I just go on YouTube.
But
I don't have to.
Remember how cool that was in the 80s?
Dude, I loved MTV.
Yeah, you put on MTV and man, you'd see like Huey Lewis or whoever, and you're just like, oh man, just the creative outlet that the musicians got to like use for their
for sure,
music.
Man. Especially when they started coming out with like little mini movies and stuff. Well, like Thriller.
Yeah, it's like
Thriller, like a little mini movie.
Many Michael Jackson videos were like productions.
Oh, dude,
man,
that guy was awesome.
Yeah, so amazing.
I actually worked out there for almost 3 years. I don't know if you knew that or not. At Neverland.
At Neverland?
I worked at Neverland for
when?
Yeah, this was probably like 99, 2000, maybe.
Oh, no kidding.
Until
what'd you do there?
I worked in the amusement park.
No way.
Yeah.
How did you get that job?
Pat Silva. I don't know if you know Pat Silva.
I remember Pat Silva. Yeah.
His older brothers were Greg and Doug.
Yeah. I remember them more.
Okay, yeah. Because Pat's the youngest one. And he's a year younger than me.
Okay.
So I've known him since junior high, and we've been friends. We talk about it on this episode how we've been good friends like 4 or 5 different times throughout life. Yeah. Where we'll be like good friends for this chunk of whatever, and then we won't talk to each other for 5 years, and then we'll be back together again and hanging out or doing something or working together. So we ended up working at a pizza place together as delivery drivers. And then his mom was like the head of housekeeping at Neverland. So he would be out there doing oddball stuff. Well, then he got a job in the amusement park.
Okay.
And then his boss out there said, hey, we need more people in the park. Do you know anybody who you would trust to work out here? Who would be who doesn't get starstruck and who doesn't, who would be a good employee, who would be, and he thought of me.
Okay.
So I'm like working as a pizza cook and he calls me up and he's like, hey dude, I got a job for you at Neverland if you want it. And I mean, my time frame's probably messed up. I want to say, yes, this is true. Okay. So my older daughter was probably 1.5 around. Okay. So, my next one she wasn't even pregnant yet with the second one. Okay. So this must have been like 99. Okay. My daughter was born in 98. Okay. I'm living with my parents and I get offers this job. I was like, yeah, dude, I'll take it. Yeah. So I went out there and it was like, I mean, dude, it's one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. Such a cool place to work. It was so much fun.
I didn't realize he had like enough people to go through the amusement park.
Yes.
That they're required staff.
Okay, so there's two different things that would happen out there. So either he would have private guests, which would be people that would come stay at the ranch for a week, or because kind of what it was like the place where famous people could come without worrying about everybody knowing them. Okay. Right? Like a famous person can't just go to the movies. Everybody's going to see him. They can't just go to the fair, to the amusement park. They can't just go to the zoo. Yeah. Everybody's going to flock over there. Oh, look, it's so-and-so. Autograph this, and it's paparazzi and all this. And it's like, no. Yeah. So they would come out there, and he had his own movie theater. He had his own amusement park. He had his own zoo stocked with animals, right? So these famous people would come out and stay a week there. It was like a getaway for them. It's like, oh, we can do all this fun stuff with our family and not have to worry about all the outside stuff. Yeah. So they would have that. Okay. And when they had that, it was kind of cool because we would kind of be not on call. We'd have to be on duty. So we have to be in the amusement park. Okay. Just in case someone came down to ride rides. We'd have to be there. Sometimes if there was like older people, they're not going to ride rides. No. So we'd sit up in that little office room up there in the top. It's like a little castle is what it looked like on the outside. And we'd sit up in the little room. We'd play PlayStation or watching movies. But we could see out the window if anybody's going to be coming down the road in the golf carts.
And then you knew to
Then we'd have to be ready for them. Okay. But sometimes a whole 8-hour, 10-hour shift, we'd just sit there and watch movies. Getting paid for it. It was like, this is prime. Jeez. And we walk over across the street into the movie theater and, grab whatever out of there, get some soft serve, get some Reese's peanut butter cups, whatever out of it, because the whole snack bar was stocked with stuff. Yeah, awesome. So there was that kind of guests, and then they would have huge events out there where there would be thousands of people. And that could be anywhere from a famous person's party they were throwing. Like the first big event I ever did was Joe Jackson's birthday party. Oh, wow. So that was just a gnarly experience. That was crazy. But the other things they would do is they would have like Make-A-Wish. They would have like inner city kids would be part of something. They would get to come out there in big groups, and we'd take them on the tour. They get to go. Well, I drove the little train around the property. They get to see. Yeah, that's awesome. It was like the same kind of train you'd see like the Santa Barbara Zoo. Yeah, that little like engine, a gas engine, powered, So I drove that little thing around. So we'd pick up all the kids, fill it up with kids. Drive him, they get to see the front of the house and all that stuff. We'd go to the arcade because he had a full 2-story arcade right next to the house. So we'd let him play in there for like an hour. And of course, all the games are free. And they go to run around, playing all this stuff. Throw him back on the train. Then we go to the amusement park. They get to spend a couple hours riding rides. Okay. Then they go see a movie, whatever the movie of the day was. They'd have whatever was popular, like kids' movies in the theaters at the time. They play that there. Put them on the train, take them to the zoo. They get to spend a couple hours looking at the animals. Jeez. Yeah, and then they'd always have a big like lunch, like they do a big barbecue, like do burgers and like stuff like that, and just feed all these kids. And it was awesome, dude. Yeah, and great job, man. It was really cool. It was cool because you kind of got to see a certain side of celebrity. Yeah, like because there were plenty of people out there that were like kind of like, do you know who I am kind of attitude. Yeah. Like I can do whatever I want because I'm so and so. And then there were people that were some of the coolest people you would ever meet. Like there was multiple times where I would see somebody's character on TV or in a movie and think, oh man, I bet that guy's so cool in real life. And then you meet him in real life and they're the biggest stuck up jerk you've ever met. Yeah. And then the flip flop. Like I would see people and the characters they play, it's like, oh my gosh, I bet that girl is like such just a terrible person in real life. Yeah. And then you meet her and she's totally cool. Wow. Like one of my, probably the biggest example of that for me on the female side would be Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Okay.
So like, yeah, I always saw her like, oh, she's just such like ditzy and like kind of, you know, and she just kind of had that vibe like, oh, I'm so pretty, I'm prettier than you, you know. I'm like, how do I really know that? I'm just watching that. Dude, she was out there with her bridesmaids like right after she got married to Freddie Prinze Jr.
Okay.
She was the coolest person ever. She was so polite and so nice, and like she was always like asking me, oh, is it okay if like you take us over here? Can we go look at this? Are you sure that's okay? Like, she wasn't entitled at all. She wasn't like, oh, I'm Sarah Michelle Gellar. You better take me over there this instant. You know, it was none of that.
So she was really cool.
Totally cool, dude.
That's
totally
awesome.
Cool. Yeah. It was awesome.
What a cool experience.
Dude, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
How long did you work there?
Almost 3 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Almost 3 years, yeah. I was there right up until, well, I had quit. And then that's when I started working at the library.
Okay.
And I'm still there. That's where I am now. And like within probably a couple months, 3 or 4 months maybe.
Okay.
The new allegations came out.
Yeah.
The final allegations came out.
It correctly.
Well, I knew that whole family.
Yeah.
In fact, I knew exactly who it was. As soon as I saw in the news, there's new accusers of Michael Jackson. I called my buddy who still worked out there. And I said, hey, is it who I think it is? He goes, yep.
Oh, man.
Didn't surprise me at all.
Were you deposed or anything like that during his trial?
Okay, so I was scared to death of it because I don't trust the media.
Yeah.
And I was called. People were calling me, wanting me to give a statement. I ignored everybody.
Like outlets, like media outlets, because they saw your employment.
Reporters. Who else was calling? Yeah, there's different people were calling me. I was ignoring everybody.
Yeah.
There was only one lady I talked to, and that was because my boss at the time, who I'm still really close with, which I've had him on here too.
Oh, cool.
Big Al. He let me know. He's like, hey, this lady, I forgot her name now. This lady, she's on Michael's side in this.
Yeah.
She's like, she's not going to try to twist your words to make it out something that you're not. She just wants to talk to you because you worked in close proximity with this family and with the, you know, he goes, I think you should talk to this one.
Okay.
So I said, okay. So I said, if he's telling me it's good, I'm good. So she came over to my house before we lived here. We were in the other place, and she came over and sat down with me for not very long, maybe half an hour, and just asked me certain questions. And you know, but it's like and people always ask me, oh, do you think he did it? Do you think he did it? It's like, look, I have no way. I mean, if you want me to give you an absolute answer, I would say no.
Yeah.
I do not think he did it.
Yeah.
But can I guarantee that?
Yeah.
No, because I wasn't with him 24/7.
Exactly.
Nobody was with him 24/7.
Yeah.
And this is something I said when I was talking to Pat yesterday about this, is that I really get irritated with the people that are like, that never worked out there. Yeah. All they know is what they're seeing on the TV.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he definitely did it. Oh, we all know he did it. He definitely. What are you? Yeah, based on what? And you know what they say?
TikTok?
No, they say because he's weird.
Really?
That's what they say. Oh, that guy's a weirdo. It's like, okay, he's strange. I give you that.
Yeah.
But does that equal pedophilia?
No. Being eccentric does not equal.
Right, exactly.
Such extreme.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they go together, but one doesn't equal the other, right? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but so it was really, really interesting. Another cool person out there, Seth Green.
He looks like he'd be fun.
He was awesome. He wanted us to ride the rides with them.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because there was 3 of us that were working out there running the rides, right?
Okay.
And it was him, Macaulay Culkin, and he was dating Mila Kunis at the time.
Oh.
And then the guy that plays Fez from That 70s Show.
Oh, yeah.
So the 4 of them were out there just as private guests. And we were running rides from. There's 3 of us running rides because there's just the 4 of them. So we're just going around ride to ride. We don't need to be on different rides.
Yeah.
So they're riding together and stuff. And Seth Green goes, hey, how many of you does it take to ride a ride or run a ride? We said 1. They said, well, why don't the other 2 of you come ride with us then? We're like, cool.
Okay,
yes, this is so cool. So the rest of that day, man, we're just running around riding amusement rides with those 4.
That's so cool.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
It was a blast. We go to the bumper cars with them, just having a blast, dude.
Oh, that's so cool.
Blast, yeah.
And you're getting paid for it.
And getting paid for it.
And you're like 24 now or 23. It's like,
yeah. Actually, I was even younger than that. I was about 22, I think, at that time. Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Wow.
I think by that point, Bethany was pregnant with my son. Yeah, my second child. So yeah, it was just like, it was gnarly. But
that's cool.
Anyway,
well, just to kind of, I was involved in something. I mean, totally different than that. But I was captain of the Burbank tennis team for USTA when I lived in LA.
Oh, wow.
And so I had a lot of actors.
Yeah, I bet.
Were on my team.
Okay.
That played, and so I just became a part of like a celebrity like, because, you know, they couldn't just, you know, it was hard for them to find like 4 or 5 level tennis players to play with. They couldn't. The only one I ever saw all the time out in the open playing at like public courts was Gavin Rossdale.
Oh, really?
And
From Bush?
Player. He's a 4 or 5 player. He's like really good. Yeah. He was really good. Yeah. And we played with him like doubles and on public courts.
See,
people would be like, and I was playing with 2 working actors who were always on shows. Like, you wouldn't know their names, but you would know their faces. And they're, you know, knew him. And so we would play on public courts. But I got to play with like Dr. Phil.
Oh, really?
John Hamm, Liev Schreiber.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cotton Weary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's what I always remember him for.
But just, you know, for the same reason, because I wasn't starstruck. I wasn't.
Right.
You know, and I was good enough.
And they appreciate that.
Yeah.
Right? They want to be treated like a normal person.
Exactly.
You know?
And so, you know, I'd go there and you would just talk football and just hang
awesome.
out. And we always had sweet courts, you know.
Okay.
You know, private clay court, you know, with like fully stocked like snack bars. And,
oh, that's so awesome.
Man.
So are you still in contact with Gavin Rossdale?
No, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if you were...
when I left LA, I
was going to have you ask him, because I would love to ask him, how do you write an album like 16 Stone?
Yeah.
And then just fall apart after that?
I know.
I mean, that is one of the greatest rock albums of all time. I mean, every song on there is a banger.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, Machine Head?
Yep.
Dude! I mean, every time that doom 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 doom, it's like, oh, this is awesome, and the whole album's great. And then they put out the Razor Blade Suitcase after that. It's like, what happened?
Like, ooh, misstep.
What happened?
Yeah, maybe tennis happened.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That dude's straight up addicted to tennis.
Oh, is he really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's not a bad. I mean, there's worse things you could be addicted to.
Yeah,
I guess,
I know.
right?
That's very true. It may have affected his music.
Maybe.
Yeah,
and hey, maybe they found it again. I haven't listened to a Bush album probably.
Either,
maybe the first 3 or 4 I listened to, but I mean that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but the main one is the one that's on my playlist.
Oh, still, dude.
And that, you know, his band was going to be one of the ones as we kind of got out of the 80s and
right
and moved forward. But
okay.
But we'll
get there. We'll get there. So we're at Michael Jackson. So that was one of the earliest ones. You remember?
Yeah, it was one of the earliest.
Which I would have the same memory. I would say that's probably one of the earliest.
Dude, for our generation.
Yeah. I remember that's probably the first artist that I fell in love with musically. But for me, it was the Bad album.
Yeah.
So I knew of Thriller, I knew of Billie Jean, Beat It, all that. I knew those songs, but when the Bad album came out, that was
there were so many on that.
Dude, oh my gosh, that was probably the first cassette tape I ever owned.
Yeah,
was the Bad album with him with the leather jacket on the front, and this is like I used to blast that Bad song.
I remember going to Warehouse here in Santa
Maria.
Yes.
I think that's where I got it.
That's where I got it.
Either there or one of the places in the mall, is Sam Goody or Musicland.
But I remember specifically getting Bad at the Warehouse. I remember we went to Sizzler.
Okay.
And Sizzler was right across from Warehouse.
It was right there.
So I remember I got my toast.
It's a health food store now. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, the cheese toast. I remember that.
And my 6 salads I would eat and 8 ice creams. And then going to get Bad at Warehouse. And I just remember getting it and just being like, oh,
yes. And that's another one. There's no skippable tracks on there.
No, there isn't.
Every song on there.
Like, I don't even know if those exist anymore with musicians, like where there's no skippable tracks.
No,
like,
it happens, but for me, it's rare.
Rare, right?
But I mean, I'm all over the music world. Like, and that's
awesome.
And for me, like doing this is fun for me too, because a lot of times I'll hear somebody will mention something I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Just the other day, there's a band that I've heard of, the Decemberists. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
No.
I heard the name, but I've never listened to any of their music. And somebody I had on the show about a month ago now had recommended this album that was like a concept album by then. I don't remember the name of it now. But he's talking about how it really moved him and it changed his life and there's all this stuff. Like, oh, I got to check that out. And I listened to it. I was like, oh my gosh, how have I never heard? I mean, it came out like 2006.
Yeah.
So it's old.
I know.
Like, how have I never heard this?
Yeah.
You know, but
17, 18.
But anyway, so okay, so let's move on to like as you're getting older.
Yeah.
Like you're getting into school, you're meeting friends who like music now.
Yeah.
Maybe you're like getting into more stuff.
There was a void kind of like when I was in high school where like I didn't really listen to music. Like all I cared about was sports. But I didn't like take, like I knew obviously Nirvana, Pearl Jam, you know, but like I didn't like.
Did you like that stuff?
Oh, I liked it.
Okay.
But I didn't like, maybe I didn't understand it or appreciate it as much as I do now.
Okay.
But we all had tape players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I drove such a beater car. It didn't even have a tape player. I don't know if you remember Gary Morris, who played on our team. Gary put a tape player in my car, which was so nice of him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I was able to like take the music with me.
Yeah.
But
yeah, last time I saw him, he was doing like pest control or something. He came into the pizza place that I worked at to do like some kind of pest control or something. Cool. Yeah, and I saw him, I was like, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. But that was long. Yeah. And I remember that too. You used to do that back then.
With a little bit.
You used to kind of do his voice. Yeah, it's funny.
He was cool. He was my doubles partner.
Yes.
So we had a lot of good times.
That's funny.
But so I mean, it would be, God, at that in like the early '90s, man, I just didn't appreciate. I didn't appreciate music till I really got to college.
Just a bummer, because that's when the best music came out, was in the early '90s.
Well, then I rediscovered like a lot of music.
Okay.
In high school, I just didn't, didn't. But like, when I was in college, I went to concerts all the time.
Who'd you see? Oh, nice.
I saw No Doubt.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
What year was that?
I think that was 95, 96.
Oh, so it was like right around Tragic Kingdom then.
Yeah, it was right around. She was new. Like,
okay.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, man. I still have like in a box, a memory box, I have all the tickets. I went to the Bowl in Santa Barbara. Okay. And all the venues in San Francisco.
You still have those?
Still have all the tickets.
Oh, dude.
And dude, I go back and look at the tickets and I'm like, $14.
Yeah, $14. Right. And those are probably good seats.
They were good seats, man. I remember, dude, I'd be like in a mosh pit in front, just
nice. You can't even. They won't even let you sit in the parking lot outside the venue for $14 now.
No,
you got to pay $100 even for that.
Just to park, and like drink outside.
Right.
But like I looked at going to Smashing Pumpkins. They were playing at the Bowl.
Oh, shut up!
A year and a half ago.
I never got to see them.
Dude, it was $500 a ticket. Wow. And I'm like, come on. I'm like,
and you went?
No, I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go?
I didn't go.
When was this?
About a year and a half ago.
Oh, recent. Okay.
Yeah, it was recent. But I was just like blown away. I was like, man, because I saw the Smashing Pumpkins like 2 or 3 times in the '90s.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I saw them at the Cow Palace in San Francisco and a couple other places. And I went back and looked at it. It was like $20.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a good seat at the Cow Palace.
Yeah, dude.
I don't even know if the Cow Palace is even there anymore.
I don't even know either.
But I mean, now it's $500, and I'm like, really? I'm like, you're just pricing out like people who would like truly appreciate Smashing Pumpkins.
Especially because you're out of your prime now. Most people don't even know who you are anymore.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like guys like us do, but that's because we remember them from the 90s.
We grew up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, now it's just like the elite of like Santa Barbara that gets to go see.
Yeah.
And they're probably just like, and leave early. And,
they're probably like, who's this?
Yeah, exactly.
Something about
they're just sipping
gourds, some kind of gourds or something?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah. And, they don't appreciate it. Whereas like, people that do like can't afford it.
Right.
Or just have to pay rent instead of going to a concert.
My buddy just went to the Green Day show where they're touring and they're playing the entire Dookie album and the entire American Idiot album.
Those are expensive too.
Right. So he went to that, and Smashing Pumpkins was one of the openers.
I was like, wow.
Yeah,
that's how big Green Day is.
It was Smashing Pumpkins and Rancid.
Yeah, I remember
and
Rancid.
Green Day I was like, that's kind of a weird. I mean, Green Day and Rancid maybe are okay together, but Smashing Pumpkins seems like a weird mix to put in there.
With Green Day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but
did you go?
I didn't go.
Oh,
no,
okay.
he went. Okay. He was telling me about it. Him and I go back and forth on Green Day. He's like, whatever, American, or what does he say? 21st Century Breakdown's their best album. I was like, then you're not a fan. Come on, dude. I mean, it's a good album, but come on, man. Really?
Which one do you think?
Oh, that's hard for me. I mean, I usually go in eras, what I call eras. This is all just made up in my own head.
Yeah.
But I can usually pick, there's a 2 or 3 album stretch where I think they hit their stride.
Yeah.
So for Green Day, for me, it's like Kerplunk, Dookie, Insomniac.
Yeah.
I think that's their culmination of their best music right there. They found their sound right there. But that's not to say they didn't do anything great after that. I mean, the American Idiot album is phenomenal.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's
just great, dude.
Yeah, that's a great album.
But they just kind of started, their style kind of started to switch a little bit after Insomniac. Yeah, because in the next album after Insomniac was where the Good Riddance, The Time of Your Life came out. Yeah. So then he's playing this ballad, you know, and it's like...
And that's not great.
Yeah, not really. It's a great song by its own merit, but... Yeah. It's not Dookie. Yeah. Right? It's not the same kind of power punk, you know? Yeah. So it's...
That's right, because that's your favorite.
Right, exactly. And bands like Green Day and Offspring and kind of the mainstream punk bands of the 90s, a lot of the big punk guys are like, it's great.
Yeah.
But a lot of the big punk guys are like, oh, they're sold out. They're not really punk rock. They're not punk. Shut up.
I know they are.
So they're able to make money.
I know.
Creating awesome music.
Yeah.
Leave them alone.
I know.
So what? You know?
But it's like once you start getting that fame and money,
right?
People take away your like your street cred,
right?
Your cred, you know?
Right. And not to mention the fact that if it wasn't for bands like Green Day and Offspring and Blink-182 and some of these ones, these ones that went big time. Yeah. If it wasn't for them, then a lot of people never would have listened to bands like Pennywise and NoFX and the Vandals and some of these other ones, So totally. They would have remained totally underground, which they did. They never went to majors or anything, but but their music is known now. Like people know who that is.
I've heard of those bands.
Yes,
if I've heard of them.
Exactly. Right, because you're not really. No. I'm assuming you're not really a big punk rock guy, right?
Not
okay.
so much.
Okay.
And I'm old now.
Yeah. Well, that's all right, because the older guys, they're the ones that know the good punk from the 90s.
Exactly,
right?
yes.
The new stuff, they're calling punk's not really the same thing.
And you're right, like you said, like I missed that time period, where, I'm glad I got to experience it still when I was in college.
Right.
But,
right.
I was such a dork in high school,
yeah.
so
that's right, man.
I missed my my opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but you got to go.
I got it eventually.
You did.
Yeah.
You're just a little late to the party.
Yep. Yeah. and I was really late to the party, but once I found the party,
it was all over.
Yeah, because I found alcohol too.
Yes.
And then the combination.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like a nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
So I saw lots of, because San Francisco is such a great place to live and see music.
So I mean, what's some other bands you saw live? Do you remember any of them?
Well, you're speaking of that. I mean, this is a little bit later, but that's my favorite band of all time is Live.
Live?
Yeah.
Like Lightning Crashes?
Lightning Crashes, yeah.
Of course, I'm sure they have other songs too, but
they do have other songs, but
okay.
I saw them several times.
Interesting. So that's a band that I know of them.
Yeah.
But I probably know 3 songs, maybe?
Yeah. That was my favorite, when I was maybe, God, I don't know, my mid-late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And Presidents of the United States.
Okay. I know, again, I just know their singles.
Okay.
Lump
Blind
and...
Melon.
the One Hit Wonder, Blind Melon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, like I say.
Yep. I played tennis with their drummer too. So
oh, really?
Yeah. Maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I saw. I mean, I wish I would have brought my memory box. There's so many.
Yeah. Well, I would love to see that. Like if you get home and I'll take some pictures and send me some of those stubs, because I'd love to see some of that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, they're so like old now. It's like 30 years old. Some of them.
For sure, man. But it would be cool to see like all the different
Foo
bands
Fighters.
you've seen. I
saw them at the Bowl.
He
was so drunk.
Oh, really?
When he performed at the Bowl. This was in the 90s.
Okay.
He was like, just, and people were booing. And
see, it's like, fine, have fun.
Yeah.
But if, like, I have a story like that with Guttermouth. I don't know if you're familiar with Guttermouth.
I've heard of them.
All-time favorite punk bands. They're from Southern California, somewhere down there, Hermosa Beach or somewhere down there. But anyway, I love them. They're fantastic. Some of the best, like, just kind of, you have to hear it to know what I'm talking about. But I mean, the riffs are just so heavy and it's like, it's awesome. But anyway, finally got to see him live, dude. This is like
so this
2000 is maybe at Ventura Theater. Right? This is back when I was good. That's when I saw the majority of my punk shows was from like 98 to 2001, 2002. And most of them were in Ventura Theater. But there to see Guttermouth. So excited, dude. Yes. Comes out. And the singer's like, and I know he drinks. I know this already because he's got a reputation. He's kind of got a bad boy reputation. Yeah. He's one of those guys that, like, a lot of other punk bands don't like him because he just talks crap about everybody and he gets into fights with people, and he's just that kind of guy. So I see he's already got like this bottle. I don't know if it's Jack Daniels or something, right? Some hard liquor bottle like sitting on the thing right there, right? So he comes out, he says, whatever, yeah, everybody. And, and he grabs the thing and he takes a swig, puts it down, and they go into the first song, okay? First song's all right.
Yeah,
second one's okay.
Yeah.
But, like, in between every song, he's drinking more and drinking more. And by, like, the third or fourth song, I'm like, dude, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, have fun.
Yeah.
But we paid money to come see this.
People drove here, paid money,
right,
to see you,
to see this band. I've been waiting for years. Like at this point, I think like their 5th album was out, so they got this. I got all these songs in my head, and I'm like, oh, I hope they play this one and this one and this one. These are my favorites. I hope they play some of these. And even when they played those, it was like, this is terrible.
Yes,
like I could have sang that better than you did.
Yeah,
right. And it goes to the point like the rest of the band was even looking at him like, dude, like Mark, you're like. you need to slow down because this is getting bad. Like he was stumbling all, he couldn't even walk, and he just, I was like, oh my gosh. I think they played like 10 songs and that, and they weren't even the headliner. That was I don't remember who the headliner was. It was another punk band that I liked, and I think I enjoyed them.
But you were there to see.
That was my favorite one. Yeah, I think the headliner, again, I can't remember who it was because I saw so many shows back then, but I was excited to see them too. But like I said, Guttermouth is probably in my top 4 favorite punk bands of all time. So
and now you've got that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then they played somewhere not that far from here, not that long ago. And my friend, do you know Sabin? Sabin Brock?
Yeah, I do remember him.
So he was going to the show, and he asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like,
okay.
I don't know, man. I'm still kind of burnt from 20 years ago.
Yeah, see, it sticks with you.
It's like, I don't know if I want to go.
I know. Like, obviously, like, the Foo Fighters are, like, all adults now.
Right.
I think half of them are sober.
Yes.
And don't even partake. And
still
sure
making
they give a
great music.
show. But, like, still, I'll always remember that. Just them just falling apart on stage at the bowl. And I'm just like, you know, we only paid, like, $20 then. But still, like, $20 was a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure.
21 years old.
Yeah, dude.
Know? Yeah.
That was a 12-course meal at Taco Bell for $20. I mean, it's like,
It's probably what I had for dinner.
Oh man. So okay, so live, huh? That's interesting. So are they still making music?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I only heard that one album.
I think 2 or 3 albums that I've listened to.
Okay.
And I really love those albums.
So what is it about them? Like what is it that you like so much about
I love the style. I just, it resonates with me.
Okay.
It's hard to mention like exactly what it is.
Right.
But it's the same thing with like the President's United States.
Yes.
For me, it's like Smashing Pumpkins too. I like that style, like where it's
kind of grungy, kind of 90s grungy,
90s grungy,
right.
And it just for my youth, like just the memories, like involved with that time and stuff like that. But
what's the other song that was off the same album that had lightning crashes? They had a faster one.
They had a faster one, and I can't remember.
You can't remember the name. Okay,
it's on my playlist.
Okay,
like I know all of them, but I'm like so bad with like the names. Of like particular groups and their songs. Like, and I've got such an eclectic playlist. I've got like Broadway and even like Taylor Swift, and like Katy Perry.
Love Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I'll say that out front, so you don't have to be ashamed of that at all.
I've got like 5 songs. I've got like 5 songs on my playlist. Taylor, and I didn't even know that they were Taylor Swift.
Oh, really?
Until like sometimes I'll be lifting and I'll look at my phone and I'll be like, I'm all shake it, in the gym.
Yeah, see, that's
I'm old enough.
Right.
I don't care. Like if other young lifters see me like,
that's nice.
Off and
really
doing a little dance between sets.
See, I think I would care about that, but I'll rock it to myself.
But I'm a little older, so
yeah.
You've got
Maybe I'll get there.
You'll get there.
Yeah, that's so cool, man.
Katy Perry.
Okay,
even Britney Spears.
Yeah, dude.
I like, Dua Lipa.
Okay.
Now I tend to like faster, but like, so the 2 most recent musical performances I've been to. So I went to the London Philharmonic at the Granada. That was gorgeous. I love classical music.
Dude.
I love symphony. I
beautiful.
love the violin.
Yeah.
And then I saw this fado singer from Portugal named Marisa.
Fado?
Fado.
I don't know what that is.
It's specific to Lisbon. It's like their style of music.
What does it sound like?
It's like sensual and like melodic. It's hard to describe.
Okay. Sensual meaning like it puts you in the mood, or what? It's what you want to play when you want to get your lady in the mood.
If you want to like set the tone a little bit.
All right.
But
that used to be Keith Sweat, but I guess this is now what we're doing.
Yes, yeah. For Southwestern Europeans, yes, it's Keith Sweat for Portugal.
All right.
But she's famous in Portugal, and it was a really beautiful performance.
Huh.
So like I too have like very eclectic.
Yeah.
Like my playlist is just like there's songs from Les Mis and Phantom and Hairspray and all kinds of stuff to Alice in Chains to
dude. And do you know people that just
Twisted
don't get
Sister.
that? They listen to you listening to your playlist and like, how do you listen to?
Oh yeah.
How do you follow up, a Mozart song with like System of a Down or something?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
how do you do that? I'm I just love all of it.
I do too, and I do it on purpose. So on Spotify, I just use the little thing that randomly selects my music. So it's not just like Tom Petty for 4 songs and then live for 3 songs and whatever.
Right.
It's like it'll go from like that.
Okay.
Mozart to
exactly.
and both like
right.
depending on like what I'm doing, like what lift I'm doing, like will like help me throw up like more weight and get a better lift.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of playlists that I've made myself because I don't do Spotify. I know I'm the only guy in the world that doesn't do Spotify. I don't do Pandora. I don't do any of that stuff. Like I literally like own all of the music that I have. Like I still do CDs.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm so old school with that. I love having it in my hand. I like having it, but then I'll put all the CDs on this computer right here. I'll put it all into my iTunes library.
Okay.
Well, then that all goes onto my phone.
Yeah.
So I purposely, the last time I upgraded my phone, I purposely got the one with a terabyte of memory, so I can have my entire music catalog on my phone at all times. Because sometimes it's like, oh man, I get a song in my head, I want to hear it.
Yeah.
I want to hear it right now.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I have everything, and all that. But I went through and I made all these playlists. Like I have a pump up playlist that's more kind of, you're saying you're at the gym.
Yeah.
Not that I ever go to the gym, but if I'm doing like mowing the lawn or something, I'll throw on that.
Oh, dude, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
just cleaning the house,
exactly.
Like sweeping, anything,
yes, exactly. You get that going. I have one that's like a, more like a mellow kind of a chilling. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's called my chillin' playlist. Yeah. And, I'll put that on if we're having a barbecue in the backyard or something. Having people over, just throw it on in the background, Got my little block rocker out there, kind of going with that. So
that's awesome.
I got a playlist for all moods, man.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. It's all yours. You own it.
Right.
You get to save like $150 a year.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have to.
We won't talk about how much money I've spent on getting all those CDs.
I know, but now you
most of them come from thrift stores, so I'm doing all right.
Good.
So
Good.
Paying $1.50 or whatever. All right, cool. So would you consider live to be like the band that's like impacted your life the most, or okay,
and I've probably seen them live, like 10 times, like
going to see live,
yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like like when I was growing up, everybody always wanted to go see Dave
Matthews.
Dave Matthews.
Okay,
yeah, this is like 95, 97, 98, oh, Dave. It was like almost like, the Grateful Dead.
Right.
My peer group and generation in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go see live.
Okay.
And they played several times in the Bay Area. So, just, following them always and just, they had the biggest impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like was it high school or maybe just after high school? I feel like they played somewhere around here.
Probably.
Because I remember somebody telling me the story, and I do not remember who it was, that they were saying that people were moshing to Lightning Crashes.
Really?
And they're like,
how do you mosh to
that? Right. That was his point. It's like, dude, it was the weirdest thing. Like, that's like the slow song. Like, they have some rockers, but that's like the slow song.
But that's the slow one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they're just violent.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. They're just like, I want to hit somebody.
Yeah, exactly. I want to cause bodily harm to another person.
Yeah. That was me in mosh pits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't care much what was going on. I just wanted to like...
Yeah.
Put somebody into the ground.
In the name of love, of course.
Exactly, yes, in the name of love.
So would you, even though you like everything, like you're like me in that way, but do you have like a certain genre that you would say, even though I like everything, this is definitely my favorite?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can like, because I kind of picture like the bands I do like as a genre. So like Live, Presidents, that type. Like I don't know how to describe that genre, but I would say that.
Okay.
That melodic kind of grunge.
Right. So you lean more to rock as your favorite than say hip hop or
Although
reggae.
I do like hip hop.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I just don't know their names, but like.
But you hear a song
like Lil Jon or something like that.
They're all Lil something.
Yeah, the LIL.
They all have that.
Insert name here.
Yeah.
But I do like a lot of their music, and a lot of it like gets me through like workouts or like you said, like cleaning and just around the house.
Sometimes the
like
beat's all you need, man.
Exactly. Yeah. Just
really cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So lastly for the music, we'll go with. And obviously, you probably already mentioned some of these, and you can re-mention them for this list. But just could you give me like a top 5 all-time favorite bands, artists?
Sure. So for me, top number 1 would be the Beatles.
Okay. Oh, we didn't even talk about them.
Yep, didn't talk about them, but they've been in like around from Michael Jackson to now.
Okay. Yeah.
After that, I'd say Michael Jackson.
Okay.
And these are like what I would go to, like if they're ever playing, I like leave it. And
okay.
Third, I would say Prince.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
Fourth, I would say Live.
Live. Okay.
And fifth, I'd say Tom Petty.
Ooh.
The Heartbreakers.
Shoot. Some good stuff in there, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I know. A lot of them are dead now.
Yeah. In fact, all of them are dead except Live.
Yeah.
And two of the Beatles.
Yeah. Two Beatles and Live.
Yeah. MJ's gone. Prince is gone.
Yeah.
Tom Petty's gone.
Yeah. God.
Okay. So, yeah, let's start with the Beatles. Let's talk about the Beatles a little bit, because for me, obviously, I mean, to someone to say, "Oh, I never heard the Beatles," I mean, nobody can say they've never heard the Beatles.
Exactly.
But like for me, I heard select songs. I remember like when I was younger, like my aunts and my mom would listen to some of the more the boy bandy Beatles. You know, she loves you, like yeah, you know, that kind of stuff. And my dad was more into the Sgt. Pepper and that's
what I love.
I love Sgt. more the classic rock kind of stuff.
When they started experimenting a little bit.
Yeah. So for me, I didn't really dive into them until probably 2011, 2012. It was like way later.
Okay.
And it's interesting. What got me into it is I started learning about the rivalry between the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And when I was intrigued by that. So that made me dive into both of them. And I just went through their whole catalog. I literally listened to everything the Beatles ever released. I listened to everything the Beach Boys ever released. And I just got this appreciation for all the songwriting and just realizing how amazing. Yes. I mean, Brian Wilson aside, that's the Beach Boys, of course. But I mean, you look at like Lennon, McCartney. I mean, some of the greatest. I mean, possibly the greatest songwriting duo of all time.
Easily.
I mean, just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you have a favorite album by them? Could you pick one?
I would say Sgt. Pepper.
Sgt. Pepper, okay.
Is my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's what I on my playlist has like the most songs.
Okay.
Yeah, just the change when they experiment. You know, you know how they could go from like it'd be like, you know, In Sync.
Yeah.
Translating into, you know, becoming, you know, this like real like music, you
right?
know, where, you know, like rock and
for sure.
You know, it was just so fascinating to see.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously, I was much older. You know, things had changed so much, but and even like into like their individual stuff, like a lot of like when McCartney went solo and Harrison went solo. I liked a lot of their stuff too.
Yeah, dude. Like Harrison was like a sleeper because it's like
I know.
I mean, I know he did Guitar Gently Weeps and Here Comes the Sun. Here Comes the Sun. He did that one too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I think so. Yeah, he did. He wrote those, right? Those are both on the White Album. No, I might be wrong there. But I feel like those are his two like main like known Harrison compositions. You know, he wrote them, he sang them, right?
Yeah.
Because most of the writing was Lennon McCartney, you know. But then he goes the solo Beatles break up, and he's writing the solo. So I'm like,
I know
that's really good, you know.
He has all that talent. Like,
yes.
Yeah. And I was just like, you know, when I stumbled on him, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like he didn't get like, you know,
the
same kind of like cred as, you know, McCartney and Lennon, but like, you know, he's and like these just four guys from like Liverpool.
Yeah, how did that even happen? Like, isn't that weird?
Because they're all like amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. And just randomly like found each other. Yeah. So that Sgt. Pepper's would be my
Yeah, that's a good one for sure.
You know?
That's definitely a good one. I like that one. I think for me, like the era, like again with the eras, I think probably like with Rubber Soul.
Okay.
Going into like Revolver, and then obviously, and then going into Sgt. Pepper, and then of course you got, you know, what was after that one? Is it the White Album after that one?
I don't know the chronology.
I feel like I'm missing one. Oh no, the Magical Mystery Tour. Yeah, that one. That one was kind of cool. Fool on a Hill and Strawberry Fields and all those kind of ones. Yeah. Penny Lane.
Yeah. I feel like maybe drugs were getting involved.
Possibly.
At that time.
Possibly. And then, you know, they started adding that sitar in there once they were meeting with the Maharishi and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of new philosophies.
Man. So cool. Yeah, definitely amazing songwriters. But I mean, that's part of it, right? Because they can start in the kind of boy band era genre.
Yeah, when they first were wearing suits.
Yes.
And, you know, they were on like the Ed, or whatever that show was.
Oh, Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan show.
Yep. Yeah, but still writing amazing songs.
Oh, yeah.
And then to morph into these different genres, still writing amazing songs. Yeah,
you feel like they were able to get a little more creative control over their career and their persona.
Yeah.
And then their true colors like kind of showed.
Yep. I honestly think that if Lennon wouldn't have got killed, they would have got together again and wrote and recorded.
Done something,
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad, I remember telling me he was in New York when Lennon got shot, and just you could feel like the pall over the city, like when that happened. Like, you know, like it's hard for us to put into context. Like somebody of that magnitude, in music, you know, being assassinated, not just ODing.
Yeah, right there on the street.
Just on the street.
Yeah.
You know? Crazy.
Yeah. That's the exact reason why I'm not famous. I've had so many opportunities, you know, to be famous. I'm just like, nope, not going to do it.
Yep.
Riches I'll take. Fame you can keep.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I'm with you. Like, I think anonymity is like the greatest thing in the world.
Totally.
Like, I saw some of these people, like I said, when I was in LA, and I was just like, I would never want that life. Like, I love being able to go to the grocery store and not being bothered or looked at, or, you know, or go to the beach. And,
right.
Oh my God, that just sounds awful.
Yeah. Wouldn't mind the money though.
The money, yeah. And you see why they just become like so isolated.
Right.
Living in their ivory towers.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Let's get political here.
Okay.
The world is very political right now. We got a big election coming up in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
About. So is politics something you think about, something you follow, something you...
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, kind of give me a run. Like, do you lean left, lean right, somewhere in the middle?
I am what they call on TV an independent.
Okay.
So, you know, including this election.
Okay.
But I
you're registered independent, you mean? Or... Well,
I'm registered as a libertarian. But I have voted Democratic. I voted Republican. You know, I typically, you know, I'm one of the ones that, you know, they're trying. Obviously, I don't live in a swing state.
Right.
So my vote here either way.
It doesn't really matter. That's so true.
Yeah, that's one thing in California. We just, you know, it's a Democratic supermajority in our own state house.
Yeah. I think it always will be.
And but I remember when we were young, it wasn't the case. You know, Pete Wilson was governor.
Okay.
You know, we had, you know, it was 50-50 in the state of California between conservatives and liberals, and it had much more balance.
Yeah.
But now it's just a full-on supermajority.
Oh,
for sure. Our federal senators, our state house, our governor.
Yes. And it's because we have so many big cities.
Yeah.
Like, really, if you look at the demographics of the United States, demographics is the right word? And you look at, like, the number of big cities that are in a state.
Yes.
It's gonna because the big cities are liberal Democrats. That's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. It's always going to be like
even if you go to a conservative state like, let's say, Texas or something like that. You look at Austin, hugely liberal Democratic. You look at, you know, San Antonio, Dallas, all these places, Houston.
Yep.
That's where they're all going to be.
I know.
You know?
When you see the election maps, like when they're, you know, doing the coverage on November 5th, you see like Georgia and Atlanta's blue.
Yes.
And then the whole state
is red. Yes.
Everything surrounding it.
Right.
But they could still lean Democratic because 10 million people are in the greater Atlanta area.
Right,
and,
right. Yeah.
You know, a few million are in that entire red, you know. And that's how, like, Wisconsin, Michigan, you know, on these swing states that are going to decide the election.
Yeah.
You have, like, the cities. You have Milwaukee and Madison and Wisconsin who are leaning blue, obviously.
Right.
And then it's just red.
Yeah.
Just everywhere.
Right.
That's rural.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
Yeah. It's just so weird how it works.
Yeah, but as far as this boy, you know, this election is just tumultuous. I don't like either candidate.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, and then you think about, well, you know, choose the lesser of two evils.
Right.
And you know, it really bothers me that Kamala hasn't done like a single press conference, not one.
Yeah.
Where she, you know, doesn't get softballs from CNN or MSNBC.
Well, she just did one with Fox. I
know, but she didn't answer any questions.
Well, no.
I was really hoping. I was like, good job, Kamala. Way to go on. And this is your opportunity. Talk policy, you know.
But she can't.
I know.
That's exactly it. That's why she's been avoiding it. But at least with the Fox one, at least he was asking her good questions.
He was asking her.
She wasn't answering them.
No, she didn't answer.
But that's kind of telling in and of itself, right? And that's kind of what people on the right have been wanting to have happen. So ask her some real questions. Don't go on The View where these women love you.
Yeah, and are going to just, you know, get down and, you know, pray that you're nominated.
Yeah.
So I was really hoping that Fox interview would, like, elicit something that I could, like...
Right.
You know, see in her.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think Trump's, you know, a sociopathic narcissist.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
You know, it's...
Or a narcissistic
sociopath. Yeah, exactly. It's like, whichever one you want to go with first. But, like, you know, at least I know his policies. And, you know, on the conservative side, I tend to be more fiscally conservative. So less regulations, less taxes, you know, less government oversight.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's definitely that way. But, you know, as a person, like, I would never want to hang out with him.
Right.
You know, in fact, I would be, like, repulsed by him if I was even in his presence.
And I think that's the majority of the people on the right now that are probably going to be voting for him. They would say exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And I've said it a million times on here that I wouldn't hang out with him. I wouldn't bring my family around him.
Yeah.
I don't want to go have a picnic with him on Saturday. No, none of that stuff at all. I wouldn't want to do that with Kamala Harris either.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't either.
But the way I look at like voting and how I'm deciding this is like that to me is low on the totem pole as far as what I think of them as a person. I'm not going to say it's not important to me because it is. Obviously, I don't like a lot of the things that Trump has said and done and his attitude towards a lot of things. But I kind of look at it like for my own personal life and the life of my family and the life of the people that I love and care about, is the country going to be a better place to live under Kamala Harris or under Donald Trump. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's the way I would look at it.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And there has been a sample size of each.
Right.
And my life, I made more money, was able to save a lot more money, did a lot better financially under Trump than I did under the Biden-Harris administration, where, you know, now I was paying $100 in 2019 for groceries. The same groceries are $250 now.
Yeah.
You know, my rent was, you know, say $2,200. It's now $3,200. Isn't that
crazy? Yeah.
You know, my car payment my health insurance went up. My car insurance went up. You know, everything has gotten exponentially more expensive.
Right.
And, you know, it's just, it's challenging. So I've seen a sample size.
Sure.
And, you know, 2000, you know, and people say he's a megalomaniac. And, you know, they said this in 2016, that World War III was going to happen. And there was predominantly peace during his whole administration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because his foreign policy is spot on.
Because, you know, perhaps because he is the way he is.
Yes.
So foreign leaders are like, you know, well, we can't predict how this guy's going to react. I remember, like, in Syria, you know, I forgot what the situation was, and he dropped that, like, mega bomb, you know, I forgot the name of it, but it was, like, the largest bomb we have in our arsenal outside of nuclear weapons.
It's like Big Bertha or something.
Something like that, you know. He didn't hesitate, you know, and then you just, you know, there was relative peace.
Yes.
For us, at least, you know, in the Middle East.
Right.
So, you know, now under Biden, you know, we've seen Russia imperialize Ukraine.
Yes.
You've seen, you know, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the, you know, Iran.
Yeah.
You know,
which he has said even recently, especially about Ukraine, that these wars wouldn't be happening if he was still president.
And they didn't. You know, when they attacked Crimea, that was under Barack Obama.
Yeah.
When they attacked, you know, the eastern portion of Ukraine, it was under Biden-Harris.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
And
so how do you answer the people then that would say, like, if you say what you just said, and let's say, like, if I'm on the other side and I say to you, yeah, but the only reason, I'm going back to the economy, the only reason the economy was good under Trump is because he inherited that from Obama.
Sure, and you can make that argument.
Yeah, and then he destroyed everything in his 4 years, and the reason why the Bidenomics are so terrible, what we call the Bidenomics, is because Biden inherited all that crap from Trump.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to fix what Trump messed up.
Yeah.
I'm like, it just doesn't seem right to me.
No, it isn't, because, I mean, the policies are so dramatically different between a conservative like Trump and then, you know, I mean, if we're talking Biden from 30 years ago, he would have, I believe, had totally different presidency than the way he is now.
Right.
Because he used to be a moderate. You know? He used to be like when I voted Democratic, like, I don't know if you watch Bill Maher.
Yes.
But, like, I'm a Bill Maher liberal. Okay. Like, you know, I'm like pro-union, you know, common sense, you know.
He's like a liberal the way they used to be.
That's the liberals I love.
Okay.
You know, and it was just common sense. You know? And it was still, they believed in, you know, somewhat, you know, of a meritocracy and fairness and free speech and no censorship.
Yes.
And now, like, what Bill Maher expounds, you know, is that, you know, the left has become the party of, like, censorship.
Yes.
And,
right.
You know, screaming you down.
Yeah.
Like, and I see it on Facebook, you know, with like because I've got, you know, a lot of like far left woke friends on Facebook.
Me too. Yeah.
And if you counter an argument, you just get screamed down and told you're, you know, a fascist or something, and you're just like, oh my god.
Because that answers the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if I bring up a point like, well, why do you think this? Like, explain to me why this is your position, and what I mean, like break it down for me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
They'll tell me.
Yeah, or you're racist.
Yeah, or you're or whatever.
That's the go-to.
Yeah,
because that'll shut you up.
Yeah,
nobody,
Well, that's why a couple years ago, somebody said they've redefined the word racist. It now means anybody who disagrees with a liberal.
Yeah.
Or disagrees with somebody on the left, I should say.
Yeah. But that is what it's become. Like you get called that, and then you just shut up and you get back in line.
Yeah. Well, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I asked them, what have I said that's racist?
Yeah. Yeah.
Please. I mean, if I'm racist, I don't want to be. So show me. What did I say or do that shows that I'm racist?
Yeah.
And they will never answer that because, of course, there's nothing there.
No. So they tend to answer, you know, every rebuttal with emotion. Mm-hmm. And I want fact. Like, that's why I love Bill Maher. He's just so common sense.
Right.
And, you know, it just, you know, I watch his show and it's almost like therapy for me.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, you know, like that's where I'll still like vote on the right because I'm a fiscal conservative.
Right.
But, you know, I'm pro-choice.
Okay.
You know, anti-gun fairly.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, like a lot of the social issues, you know, I come across, you know, I'm not religious.
Okay.
So but like, you know, I do believe like, you know, the founding fathers created a government, you know, for the people.
Yep.
You know, not to have, you know, you can see Biden and Harris, you know, they want the government to have so much control.
Yes.
And so much oversight and regulations. And we see it here in California. California's become so impossible to like, to live. You know, you can't build homes anymore. There's just regulations on top of regulations.
I know.
And, you know, to our own detriment. And, you know, most recently Newsom, you know, is making it so difficult for refineries to stay, so they're all leaving now.
Right.
So now we're going to have to import all our, you know, gas from Iran, and
which is something Trump's trying to get away from.
Yeah, exactly.
He's trying to make it so we bring all those jobs back to our country.
Jobs and reliability back here.
Yeah.
And so, like, I just don't understand. Like, you know, I'm sure eventually, you know, in 30 years we'll probably all be electric or some form of. But it's not happening now. No. So making it hell on these people who like work in oil and gas and like, you know, like what Newsom's doing to the refineries here, and they're, you know, Conoco's closing. Like, you know, we're looking at potentially in a couple of years, you know, of like $7-8 gas. If there's disruptions to the supply chain.
Right.
So
if Trump gets in, do you still see us having $8 gas prices?
In California.
Still in California? Okay.
Yeah. And if you look at, you know, if you ever go to a pump in California, like I lived in Texas. And
oh really?
I lived just outside San Antonio for 3 years.
Okay.
And you know, and this was only a few years ago. And, it was the first time I'd ever lived in a red state.
Right.
And I lived in like kind of a smaller town outside of San Antonio.
Okay.
And you know, I've never lived around white people either. So it was like a culture shock. Yeah. Coming from like because I've always been in cities and liberal meccas, you know, all across from the East Coast to the West Coast. And it was almost like culture shock because I was like, oh my God, I was almost uncomfortable because I'd never seen
too many white people.
I've never seen so many white people. And I was like, you know, and my wife felt it too. And we're like, whoa, what is, we moved there like July 1st and we went to a July 4th thing in the park there where they're shooting off fireworks. And I just looked around. Yeah, and I was just like this sea of like just white people, and I'm like uncomfortable.
I feel like you're in Sweden or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like. Yeah, I was like looking around.
Blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on in this creepy town? But it was the first time I'd also been like exposed to like a red state and like and you know, I mean, just things like I remember going to the DMV in Texas and they just gave me my license plate and this, and it took like 30 seconds and cost like a tenth as much as it did here. Yeah. Gas was $1.87 when I moved there, and it was like $4.50 here.
Which proves what? That it's doable.
Yes, that it is doable.
Right?
They don't have state income tax. So when I moved there, I worked for the same company. I immediately got like a huge raise without getting a raise.
Right.
And I was just like, and my rent for a 3-bedroom home was with a yard back in front was $1,000.
Which is another raise.
$2,800 a
year.
That's
what I'm saying.
So
your cost of living is way lower. It's like you're making more money. Even if you're not hourly making more money.
Absolutely. So it was like getting $20,000 just off housing, gas, you know, and then getting another $15,000 or $10,000 between the two of us for state taxes. So it's like making $30,000 more in a place where we had a 3-bedroom house instead of a 1-bedroom apartment in the valley in Los Angeles. You know, where you're on the 101 and the 405 and life sucks, you know. And so it was amazing. Like, I would love to go back to Texas.
Bethany's parents lived outside of Austin in a town called Elgin.
I think I do.
Bastrop.
I know that,
so it's all kind of the same. We would go to Bastrop all the time to go. There's a couple restaurants her parents liked there that we would go. It's beautiful little quaint little towns and stuff. But we would also go into Austin to do touristy stuff sometimes too. We have other friends that live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And they came and met us in Austin last time we were there. Bethany's dad has since passed away and her mom moved back to San Diego. So then there's nobody in Texas. I mean, we still have our friends are still in Dallas-Fort Worth. But we love Texas. We were looking at moving out there for a while too. We had a couple states on our list of it's like Tennessee, Texas, Idaho before everybody and their mom moved up there, and now the prices there are almost as bad as they are here. So.
Well, you know, like when I moved to Texas, and this was for like the pandemic and the great migration out of California, but I had, you know, my wife drove a BMW, I drove a Volvo, we had California plates. And, you know, everybody with their monster trucks, man, like 3 feet off my bumper, you know? And I'm just like, damn, I need to get Texas plates. And I finally got Texas plates, and then just all stopped.
And then you're the guy that's riding people's bumpers. I'm Texas now.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate
Texas.
these Cali people.
Get out of here. Land of fruit and nuts.
Man. That's so awesome.
You know, and like you said, Idaho and like a lot of those states are exactly the same. Where we just inundated because we've all sold our homes here for $1.2 million, which is just a suburb, like just a house. Not, and then, you know, we buy for 300, 400,000 in these like states, you know, in cash. So we drive up the prices. The poor people that live in those states can't afford them to, you know, or they won't get selected because they have to finance with like, you know, putting like 10 to 20% down. So.
Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons we were looking at moving out of California there's lots of reasons. Politically, it was one of our reasons too, but I mean, to move to a more red state and but like financially, like we could sell our house and then you look at all the equity we would get out of our house, because when we bought our house it was like $285. And now I think the last one was like $800 or something. It's like, dang. So we take that, you can go pretty much go buy a house just cash outright.
Cash.
And then my wife, like I told you, she works from home for a California company. So she would be bringing her California wages with her to Tennessee or to Texas.
And
or whatever,
she would stop paying state income tax.
Yes.
So you would immediately, just like I did when I moved to Texas, get a huge raise. And and it's just... So so two things. Do you, first of all, I was going to say another thing, but then you just said that, which makes me want to say this. Do you support, like Trump right now is talking about... he's kind of throwing around the idea. I don't think he's made any official actual statements, but about getting rid of the income tax altogether. Do you think that would be a good move for our country? Well, you know, we survived on it before when we just had an excise tax. I don't know if removing it entirely would be beneficial. I mean, I would love it. Can you imagine like not paying federal income tax? And like, I mean, whew. But I can't see like voters ever approving that. Like he can say something like that, like how...
Why would they not though? Like what would their reasons be to not want to support that? Other than the fact that it's Trump. Oh, Trump says that it's garbage.
It's garbage,
I don't do anything Trump says to do because he's an idiot, you know?
Well, if they could figure out a way to still maintain services, the basic services that government is supposed to, you know, without it, absolutely, I'd say go for it. But I just
I know they can.
If they can.
Question is, will they?
I know. I mean, it's, you know, once you set up something and you're just accustomed to that money coming in, it's so hard to reverse that. So it's just, I can't see that passing, like, even like a Republican-controlled House or Senate. You know, and even maybe even, I don't even know if this, ultimately it'd be something I'd be like, that'd be great if we can do this without
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that. But
maybe do it in small steps.
yeah, maybe reduce it.
Yes. Start with reducing it, and then like travel towards the annihilation of it eventually.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not in this tax bracket, but a lot of people I know are, who pay the maximum California state income tax, the federal at the highest level, and from January 1 to June 30th, they're working exclusively for the government.
Yeah.
Over 50% of their income is taken in the form of taxes.
Isn't that gnarly? See, that's crazy.
I know, 50%.
And that's crazy because when you realize it's not really going towards all the things that you want it to go towards.
No.
It's just not.
Yeah.
It's
not.
That's the corruptness of it, and that's something that I don't know if we'll ever completely get out of.
I know.
Barring just like blowing the whole thing up and starting over again.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, just you're giving people like just so much of your money, and you see so little in return, if anything.
Right.
Yeah. So I would love to see that, but to your point about like leaving California, that was one of the reasons I was like interested in getting back to like Texas.
Okay.
Was I mean, we've got a federal Senate race right now, between Schiff and Steve Garvey, who was a Dodger. Dodgers, by the way. Big
you a Dodgers fan?
Huge Dodgers.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. So that last night was very, very awesome.
I don't follow sports at all.
That's okay.
But I have a lot of friends that are big Dodgers fans.
Yes.
And they're all excited about this series. So.
Yes. And they had a walk-off grand slam in the 10th last night. So.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was.
I heard they won, but I didn't hear how.
Oh man, it was amazing.
Oh, that's so cool.
But Garvey, was a Dodger and a Padre.
Yeah.
But he's running against Schiff. He doesn't have a chance, obviously, because it's California.
Right.
But Schiff is just, he's just left of left.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's, and then.
And that's almost what's destroying the Democratic Party in a sense, because I know a lot of diehard Democrats who are watching the party get so far. Like too far for even them. They're like, this is getting ridiculous. Yeah. Like we don't support this way over here. Like,
exactly.
And of course, people on the right could say the same thing. You go all the way up to the far right. And there's all the loonies over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, but I mean, it's like there's a lot of Democrats that are just like, I don't even know if I can consider myself a Democrat anymore.
No, and I think a lot of those are the ones that are independent right now. Right. Where they were like the Bill Maher type, liberal, where they're pro-union, but like. Still believe in a meritocracy and still believe in like America's a good country and we're not the devil and that biological women should be playing sports against biological women, right?
Right.
I mean,
that's fighting words right there, dude. I mean, you're gonna get into trouble now.
I know. Have you seen this outside hitter that plays for San Jose State?
No, I haven't heard this one yet.
Oh my God! So it's a trans volleyball player. And she's a monster.
So we're talking about a biological male who identifies as a woman and is playing women's volleyball.
Yeah.
Okay.
And several of the teams in the, I think it's the WAC.
Oh, they're refusing to play against. Okay, I did read that. Yeah. Yes.
But I saw clips where they're setting to her, and she's coming on the outside, and she's a monster. She's just a very big biological male. Right. And she hit this. She got in her hitting stance, and jumped in, hit, and she hit the other team's setter in the face so hard, and she just like got knocked down on the court, and it's just like, you've never seen like a female outside hitter hit the ball 90 miles an hour, and it was just pounded this poor woman in the face. That's terrible. And she got up and like she showed courage and like kept going, but like you can see why teams are not electing to play against San Jose State.
Right. Yes. Yes. And so do you think? Okay. So obviously you disagree with that. You disagree with. You think the biology of the gender should matter when it comes to sports.
And I've studied physiology for years. Yeah. And if a male has gone through puberty, they're going to have much higher muscle mass, bone mineral density. Yeah. And even if they take countering hormones later, they still went through that first puberty. Right. And they still, are going to be, our average height is 5'10", and women's heights are 5'6", and our average weight is 160, 170, 180, sure. And women's are 120.
Well, it's that word average that's important, because whenever I say that, not whenever but I see other people that say that and have this discussion, somebody always comes in and says, well, here's a video of this biological woman being stronger than this particular biological man. Yeah. It's like, yeah, but the point is that's the anomaly.
Yeah, that's now
the average is generally speaking, men are stronger than women physically. Yeah. That's just the facts.
I know.
You know?
Yeah, and there was a Canadian powerlifter who, was just trying to make a point.
Yeah.
So he went in and said he's not even like top, but he's just a good Canadian powerlifter.
Okay.
And said he identified as a woman just to make a point.
Yeah.
Entered the competition, broke all the records.
Of course.
And said, this is why.
And he said that after the fact? He said, look, I'm not really trans. I just wanted to make a point.
Yes, he just wanted to make a point.
That's so awesome.
I know. And, of course it got no coverage.
No, that's why I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but it's just like, that's just,
Yeah.
And it does such a disservice for Title IX and women's sports.
Right.
That it just it blows my mind. I've seen several track races where, like a biological male is in, the 100 or 200 and just destroys the
dude, the videos are amazing. They're all running, and then all of a sudden the dude just like, looks like Speedy Gonzalez, flying by him.
Or track, or hurdles in track.
Oh yeah,
where they're just because the women run on lower hurdles too.
Right.
So the dude's just like, just galloping over these.
Yeah.
And it's just like
I'm trying.
Yeah, like Grand Slam tennis.
Yeah.
Men play 5 sets.
Right.
Women play 3.
Right.
In the WNBA, women play with a much smaller ball than they do in the NBA.
Yes.
So if there's these differences still, like they jump on much lower hurdles.
Right.
Obviously, if sports recognize that there's these differences,
right?
Like, why on earth would you allow?
Well, I think it was Serena Williams that made the statement. She said something like, "You could take the." I'm probably gonna get the numbers wrong here, but it's gonna be
I know
basic, right? Something like you could take the number 200 male player in the country, and he would beat me.
Oh yeah.
She'd say, when she's the number 1 women's tennis player, the number 200 men's player would smoke her.
Yeah,
like I think she even said straight sets.
Yeah,
so he would beat me in straight sets.
Oh yeah. And he would.
Right.
Yeah. And,
right. So why are so many people denying this? Why are so many people
it's
like
not politically correct?
Right.
Because we're not a meritocracy anymore.
Yeah.
It's all equity and like, I mean, to a certain extent, you can see that in the media too, or movies like. Every movie now where there's like a action person as the protagonist in the movie,
it's a woman.
It's a female.
Yes.
Every time.
Yep.
And the antagonist is always some like evil male, white,
usually Russian.
Yeah, like
or German,
Eastern European percent. But like, but every time, I mean, everyone you see now is it's the same formula.
Right. And it's almost not believable. Like I remember there was a whole bunch of a flack that the show was Equalizer. Was getting right because it's like Denzel's just awesome. He's this kick butt dude. He's in there. There's all this stuff in the movies.
Yeah,
and they put out the TV show and it's like Queen Latifah.
Yeah,
and you're like, really? We're supposed to believe that she's throwing 3 guys across the room and she's. I mean, that's not even really that believable with Denzel Washington. No. I mean, obviously it's a TV show. It's fantastical. It's more than you would expect.
Yeah,
but even less so from a woman. I mean, come on, really?
I know. It's like. Let me put like 185 pounds on a bar.
Right.
Let's see if Latifah can like push that off her chest.
And she's not a small woman. I mean, Latifah's a big girl, you know?
Yeah. And she's probably like 58 years old now or something too.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Right. It's just,
And you even watch those movies and you just see like the stuntmen, like, and then like almost like throw themselves backwards. And it's like,
right.
Like, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So does your critique's probably the wrong word, but I'm gonna use it anyway. Your critique of that the sports, the trans sports issues, does it stay there, or do you kind of like how do you feel just in general about transgenderism? I mean, do you think that?
Oh, I'm totally fine with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
fine with it. Like I'll let them live how they want to live, or fine with it. Like, do you actually believe? As we're told we're supposed to believe, that if a biological male believes them to be a woman, they are a woman? Do you actually...
I still struggle with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, like, I'll respect, like, if you ask me to use pronouns, I will abide.
Okay.
I never want that litigated to me, though.
Right. Right.
So, like, you don't ever think about, like, violating my free speech.
Of course.
To force me. But if like, somebody in the trans community says, like, my pronouns are she and her, I will, and it's a male by law, I will use she and her and not have, I'll respect that.
Even if you might disagree with that. You're just thinking like, what's the point of causing a problem? Whatever.
I will just.
It's just words.
It's just words.
Okay.
Yeah. Just don't litigate it.
Right.
To me.
Right. Don't force it on people.
Don't
and say,
force it on
okay.
people. Like they're trying to do, like Jordan Peterson was trying to counter in Canada.
Okay.
But but ultimately, I've seen it firsthand where I've seen, men who, believed that, they were a woman from like a young age and then kind of transitioned. Mm-hmm. And, it seemed to me very real that they felt it.
Well, see, and that's just it. And I always have to, I can't speak for everybody, obviously. I can speak for myself.
Yeah.
And I often have to correct people as far as my own view on it.
Okay.
I'm not saying that I think they're all pretending.
Yeah.
And that they, like, as if they know, oh, I'm not really a woman.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to pretend to be, and I'm going to make everybody think that I really think I am.
Yes.
And it's all a big facade. No, I think they really think that they are a woman. Like a biological male really believes himself. I think it's an actual mental disposition. I think it's called gender dysphoria. It's been around for years, right? It happens.
Absolutely.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
But to me, it's a real thing, but it's not a reality as far as them actually being what they think they are.
Exactly.
Right? And I could use examples of people that think they're lots of stuff. And of course, the trans community gets, all up in arms at me when I use these examples. But the concept is the same. But if somebody is schizophrenic or whatever, and they believe themselves to be something like even an inanimate object or something, right? They really believe that.
Yeah.
Like, they're not pretending. They really believe that. But are they that? No, of course they're not. Yeah. They're not really that. That's part of their mental disorder that they have to believe something they're not. Mm-hmm. But I think it's really interesting how, right now, at least in our country, we're being told to accept the idea of the biological male believing is a woman or a biological woman believing they're a male. We're being told to treat that as if that's fact. They are what they believe they are, right? But then if someone, and you've seen these videos, someone will say, well, I identify as Asian. Yeah. When they're like German or something. Yeah. No, you don't understand. Since I was little, I'm an Asian person. I'm just trapped in this German body. Yeah. But I'm Asian, right? And the world just jumps on them and tells them they're evil and they should never do that. And no, you can't be that. How dare you appropriate? Yeah. How dare you? Yep. How dare you as a white woman wear like braids and claim that you are identifying as African American? Yeah. How dare you? Yeah. But the concept is exactly the same. Yep. So I don't understand why one's celebrated and the other one is vilified. I don't get that.
Well, this to me is, why the left doesn't track very well with me. Yeah. This is for that reason, why they have some things, like, for example, with abortion, and I'm pro-choice, but like, that litigating men shouldn't have any power over somebody's body, like a woman's body. But at the same time, all the left was wanting everybody to get vaccinated before the FDA even had a chance to know, like, is this going to have some long-term effects? Yeah. And they were mandating that. Like, I worked in clinical recruiting, so I saw so many nurses lose their jobs because they chose not to get the jab. Yeah. And doctors, and so they were like forcing people. Yeah, isn't that crazy? To get like a vaccination that nobody knew anything about. Right. So that was like, but they were, so, those things like that. Like,
And I'll tell you why I think that's different than the abortion thing. And then that'll lead us into talking about abortion. Okay. So the reason I think those are, they're similar, but the difference that I see is with the vaccination, I see you are being forced. Yeah. Somebody's forcing something on your body. Yeah. I don't see it that way with abortion. Like, I don't hold the view, and I know a lot of people hold the view, my body, my choice. You're taking away women's reproductive rights. These are all of the talking points we're hearing right now, especially with the election coming up, because Harris is pushing this. That's her biggest platform, is the abortion thing, which is funny because Trump's abortion stance now is more liberal than it was in 2016, which is like weird, but that's what they're going with, I guess. But the biggest argument that I make, because I'm pro-life, So this will be like probably our first major disagreement here.
That's all right.
But it's like my biggest argument, one of my biggest arguments with the pro-choice that says my body, my choice, is that pro-life people, I don't necessarily have an issue with what the woman does with her body.
Yeah.
I'm concerned with the body that's inside her. I mean, it is a separate
totally
functioning body, right? So when we say, don't force a woman to keep her baby because it's her body.
Yeah.
And then and the other one, like I just said, you're taking away our reproductive. I'm like, no, reproduction happens before conception.
Yeah.
Right. That's you're choosing. I mean, I'm leaving out rape, obviously.
Yes.
But most of the time, most abortions are from consensual sex.
Yeah.
And the person does not want the baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no one, for someone to say to hamper your reproductive freedom would be to tell you who you can and cannot have sex with, or when you can have sex and when you can't.
I agree.
And I would be totally against that. I would be like, no, the government cannot regulate
who you
decide to sleep with, right? Yeah. But I mean, if you play the game, I mean, I understand you. I didn't want to be a parent when I was, 20 years old, and my wife was 17.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, she came out of the bathroom with the positive test sobbing. We were not ready for
you
this.
must have been scared out of your mind.
Yes, this was not the plan.
Yeah.
Right?
But you moved forward.
We did.
Yeah.
And again, like I can't even. Now she's 25. I think to myself, what if we got an abortion?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I was faced with the same.
Yeah.
When, I was about to break up.
Right.
And and we discussed that and decided not to.
Yeah.
And now I've got this awesome 22-year-old kid.
Exactly.
Who's moving to Omaha to be an actuary.
And you can't even imagine life without her. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So I totally understand.
Yeah.
And I see your point.
Yeah.
Where my body, my choice.
Yeah.
But that is a separate entity.
Yes.
Growing inside you. That is a different life.
Yes.
Than yours. Yeah.
Right. To me, it's no different than me going up to my 10-year-old and shooting him in the face.
Yeah.
And somebody says, "Why'd you do that?"
Yeah.
Well, it's my body. Yeah. My body, my choice. Yeah. Or I guess I should change it. My wife goes up and shoots him in the face, and they say, "Why'd you do that?" Well, he was in my body at one point.
Yeah, I know.
It's like for some reason, once it comes out of the body, now it's a distinct.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is where again, the left confuses me because they're so pro-choice, almost pro-abortion.
Yes.
And then they're completely against capital.
Yeah.
Against
death penalty,
multiple murderers being put on death row.
Right.
And that's always just been one of the things where I'm just so an innocent fetus is okay to be terminated. Right. But the guy who raped and killed.
No. We got grace for him.
We've got grace for him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always just confounded me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what may kind of break down your reasons for being pro-choice?
So, my reasons for pro-choice, and this probably has to do with the culture I grew up in. Is my dad was pro-choice, my mom was pro-choice. Mm-hmm. So you just kind of learn from your parents, and so for me that's kind of carried on, and I guess for me, if somebody feels that they're not prepared yet to be a parent, or are just in a situation where the life of this child would be poor, or uncared for.
But is there any way to predict that?
No, I mean certainly people have come out of those situations thriving.
Right, and that's my struggle with that argument. Yeah. Is I'm like, well, you might think that, but you're killing it.
Yeah. So you never.
So there's never a chance if you kill it. At least if it's born, there's a chance it might have a decent life.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at both our daughters, you could have made an argument that two teenagers having a kid or two people that were not even going to be together, would have little chance, or lesser chance than, and both thrive.
Which, by the way, that's the third time you said that, and I keep meaning to tell you that was the case for us too. When she found out she was pregnant, we were on the verge of breaking up, and the only reason we stayed together is because we were going to have a baby together, and we said maybe we should try to make this work. Because we're bringing a life into the world. Let's at least give it a shot. There's more at stake now. And that's what kept us together.
Wow. That started a 25-year.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
So I understand the argument. to say, well, isn't it better to not give the child a potential life of suffering? Let's go to the most drastic extreme possible, right? The 14-year-old girl who's addicted to meth, you say she's a prostitute and she gets, knocked up by her pimp who's also addicted to something, heroin or whatever. And she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Now you look at that situation and you think, okay, if she has that baby, is that baby going to be born into an ideal, awesome life and be loved by their parents and all that?
Yeah.
Sure doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
Right? It sounds like they're probably going to be born into a life of drugs and prostitution and everything else, living on the streets, whatever it is. Yeah.
But you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know for sure. I mean, because there's always adoption.
Yep.
Right? I think the last statistic that I just saw is there is twice as many people that can't have children. Well, I shouldn't say can't have children. People that want to adopt. There's double that as there is as the number of abortions.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the last statistic I saw a couple weeks ago.
That's telling.
Which tells you what?
Yeah.
But again, the argument that comes in from the women's side is, but we have to carry that baby for 9 months.
Yeah.
And it always becomes a feminist issue again. We're like, who are you to tell me? It's my body. I'm the one who's going to have stretch marks. I'm the one that's going to have to deal with the labor and all this stuff. And it's like, hey, I'm not trying to say I want to do all that stuff because I've watched my wife give birth 4 times. It does not look fun.
No. I watched my daughter born too.
Yeah.
Quite a surreal experience.
Oh, it's nuts, dude.
Yeah.
Did you cut the cord?
What's that?
Did you cut the cord?
I did. Yeah. I've got a picture of me cutting the cord.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
I was scared the first time.
I was too. I was like shaking.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
you're like, what if I cut the wrong part?
oh my God, this is connected to the baby. I've got scissors in my hand.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, well, it was a boy, but now it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God.
It's like, what'd you do?
Yeah, what did you do?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. And then they'll say, well, who are you to... I mean, there are people right now that are going to be listening to this episode and there'll be women listening and they'll be like, these 2 men have no business even talking about this topic.
I know, yeah.
Because they're 2 men and it doesn't matter because they're men.
Yep.
They have no say-so. Yep. They don't have to go through pregnancy. They don't have to go through labor. So screw them,
I know. That and I've heard this ad nauseum.
Right.
So if that's their response, so be it.
Right.
But it's still my opinion.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So another one on the abortion real quick, just because I'm curious. Because you kind of have an interesting take. You're almost kind of, I know you are pro-choice like you said, but you're almost kind of on the lip there a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
There's time, and I mean we're at such a population conundrum too, where we need like more native-born people having kids,
right?
And supplementing that with like mass unchecked immigration is not like the way to go. We need people in the especially like so many young people are just electing careers and getting a dog. It seems like instead of like
right?
starting a family.
Yes,
like millennials and Gen
they
Z,
don't really have an interest in kids.
They don't. Yeah, because kids are a lot of they were raised so differently than us in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, they're so used to being, focused solely on themselves.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's the selfishness aspect. I can't have kids. I'll have to give part of my life to someone other than myself.
Exactly.
I can't get married.
Yeah.
Then I got to like give part of myself to someone else.
Yeah. And I've got to pay for them. And and they just get a dog. And,
right.
And then they have meaningless, empty relationships.
Empty relationships. And they end up paying more money on their dog than they would on their kids.
Oh, they totally do. Yeah. Because they still have that biological part within them.
Right.
And so, their dogs become their whole focus.
Right.
Yeah, or their cat or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So the last thing I was going to ask you on abortion is, do you have kind of a what am I trying to say here? Blah, blah, blah. Like a time frame where you think life begins? Do you have an answer for that, or are you kind of undecided?
I'm kind of undecided.
Okay.
I certainly, I've heard crazy things floated out there, right before birth. I just think that's crazy.
Yeah, the vaginal canal is what gives them life.
Yes.
They're dead before that.
Yeah.
The baby on this side of the vaginal canal is dead, but as soon as it passes through there, it's live.
Yes, then it's, I don't believe that. But I would say 12 to 16 weeks probably would be my... area where, I believe when they're forming, inside the woman.
That's what someone call sentient.
Sentient, yeah.
Okay.
And they're, yeah.
Okay.
Beyond that, I think
so heartbeat
should be illegal. Heartbeat.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of Trump's. Isn't that his revised viewpoint?
It's his exactly revised viewpoint now. Yeah. Which again, that's all politics, right? I mean, you got you got to play the game somewhat to
I have a
get
feeling
the votes.
like somebody told him in 2016. Well, you're getting so much of your vote from the the pro-life, and so he's like, okay, we'll go with that. Now it's some focus group told him, no, this is what you know.
Yeah.
So it's like,
you don't want to lose too much of the vote.
Exactly.
Right? Too much of the vote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I understand, right? Because I think even big picture, they're thinking a Kamala Harris presidency is going to be detrimental for our country. So you got to get in there, sir, because it's got to be you. You're the running guy. Yeah. So whatever we got to do to spruce up your resume here to get you in the door. Once you get in the door, you can do whatever you want with abortion. But right now, don't go so far to the right on it.
Yes.
Still stay pro-life, but don't, don't be talking about this life at conception nonsense.
Exactly. Yeah, because then you'll lose.
Right.
Yeah, but in the primaries, I voted for Nikki Haley.
Okay.
As my choice.
Okay. Yeah.
And probably would have voted DeSantis maybe second.
Love DeSantis. Yeah. I think DeSantis would have been great.
Yeah. Boy, some just didn't click though.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
I thought when he entered, I was like, okay, let's see. And then it just...
Well, a lot of people blame it on his campaign people kind of thing. I don't know what you call that, your entourage, your campaign entourage. But I think he'll be back.
Oh, he's too young. He's younger than me. So.
Yes. Well, which was part of the appeal.
I know.
Right? Why do we have to have geriatric people running for president? Why we have all these brilliant people that are young and old enough to... What, you got to be 35 to run for president?
Yeah, 35.
Why can't we have a 35-year-old as a president?
Yeah.
I know. Come on.
It's not, Barack wasn't that much older, when he ran. And,
right.
DeSantis was, Nikki Haley's youngish. She's in her 50s.
Yeah. I like Nikki Haley.
Yeah. And, when I saw that debate between Trump and Biden, I mean, I just was...
Which one, this year when Biden fell apart?
When Biden fell apart.
Yeah.
And, watching these two octogenarians up there, you're just like...
Arguing about their golf game.
Oh, God, yeah. Confused, you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is really 350 million people.
Yes.
And these are our two selections.
Well, that was the defining moment when they decided we got to get rid of this guy.
Know. Boy, they turned on Joe fast.
They did. And he's kind of ticked about it.
Have you
seen lately? He's undermining her, and
when he lets himself loose,
right?
He's got a fiery temper.
Oh, he does.
He's like that angry old man. Who's like, get off my lawn.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah,
you're skateboarding outside,
right?
He's gonna come out there and get confused. And he's like still in his underwear.
Yeah, man, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
God, that was.
Okay, so two last things here.
Yeah.
For politics. This I was going to ask you earlier when we were talking about the economy and all that. Do you support Trump's kind of drill baby drill idea when we're talking about bringing more of the jobs back to our own country and not?
Yes. Not relying on foreign.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
To the extent, I mean, obviously I don't want to see ecology breakdown or,
sure,
the environment hindered too much.
But,
at the same time, jobs here, it's being produced on our planet, just in another country like Saudi Arabia that has lesser regulations to the point where it's probably dangerous.
Right.
There's probably more climate impact.
Oh, I'm sure.
If they're producing it in the Middle East or Russia or Venezuela, than here where we have more regulations, say for job sites. Yeah, I would absolutely make that a domestic talking point.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we here, we don't have a pipeline in California.
Right.
We've got these refineries who are leaving.
Yeah.
We're going to be more dependent on foreign oil, which leads to manipulation of prices.
Of course. Yeah.
Logistics, if there's disruption in the supply chain. I mean, crazy things could happen where it could have obviously we weren't. We were maybe alive in the 70s when it happened during the Carter administration, but we don't remember.
No, I don't.
But mile-long lines for gas, only allowed 2 gallons.
Yeah.
Just
rationing off stuff. Yeah.
And people fighting in line, people going crazy.
Yeah.
blackouts, just crazy.
It's like the toilet paper crisis of 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. God,
that was crazy.
That pandemic was.
Yeah. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. So, but hey, you know what? I think for most people that was a really good learning experience.
Yeah.
And I think coming into whatever we find out in the next 2 weeks, whichever one of these two wonderful people is at the helm, I think people are smarter now.
Yes.
Like I think if they try to pull something like that again, I don't think
where the government just seized total control over.
Yeah, and try to shut down all these businesses and shut down everything. It's like I don't even think in California people are like, no, I'm not doing it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not losing my business.
Yeah.
Unless I mean, I'm not saying they should be like rebellious just for the sake of being rebellious. Like it's the same thing I said, and I've been saying still, because at the library still.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
If someone gets COVID, which first of all, I'm like, why are we even testing? Stop testing. If you're sick, just stay home. Yeah. Don't test. Don't tell anybody anything.
Yeah.
Come back when you feel better. Okay? But they test, and then we get this email. So-and-so tested positive. They don't say. They just say, one of your coworkers, because it's the big secret. One of your coworkers has recently tested positive for COVID-19. You've been listed as a close contact. So you need to wear a mask at work for 10 days. I'm like, dude. How? And this is always my question. Every time it happens, I go into my boss's office. I say, look, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, how long? Are we going to do this forever?
Yeah.
Is it going to be 2055? And we're like, well, somebody contracted COVID. Everybody wear masks for 10 days. Yeah. What are we doing? And she said, well, OSHA, we're still under OSHA. We have to go by what OSHA says. I said, fine. At what point are we going to stand up to OSHA and say, show us proof of why we need to do this?
Yeah.
Show me scientifically, first of all, that these even work.
They don't.
And secondly, that COVID's even a problem anymore.
Yeah.
Let's see all that. Show me that data. Let's see it. And then I'll wear a mask.
Yeah.
Until then, leave me alone.
Yeah. I know.
Just get out of my face about it. It's ridiculous. You're still pushing this stuff, and there's no reason for it.
I know.
Like in the beginning of COVID, I get it. Fine. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. We're watching the news. Everybody's dying. There's bodies piling up everywhere. You walk outside your door, you're going to die. That's basically what we're being told.
Yeah, that's what
I
we're
get
being
it.
told.
Let's take some precaution for right now, because we don't know what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But this is 4 years later.
Lots of data.
We know what we're doing now. Yeah. Why are we still doing this?
I know. And like, I never wore an N95 mask. I had these stupid things I bought from Amazon for $1.
The cloth ones.
The stupid cloth one. Where, I mean, I was just recycling in my carbon dioxide.
Which is good for you.
Which is super good for you. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
You see the people running.
Yeah.
They're out there running miles by themselves with a mask on.
I know.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Or driving by themselves in their car with a mask on.
I still see that. Santa Barbara is a heavy liberal city.
Yes.
I see that all the time.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you're by yourself in the car.
Yeah.
I'm just staring at him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like...
It's a wonder. I would love to have... I almost want to pull them over and say, hey, dude, I have this podcast.
Yeah.
I'd love you to come sit down and talk to me. Just explain to me why you're wearing the mask by yourself in your car.
Yeah.
Just break it down, man.
He would show up to your podcast in a bubble.
He would.
Yeah.
Probably.
Just zip it up.
A hazmat suit.
Yeah, with a little hole he could talk out of,
And he'd have to have somewhere to put the straw so he could drink the chai.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So the last thing would be you said I'm gonna let you describe this because you said vaguely. I think you said you're anti-gun.
Yeah.
So explain that to me. Like, do you mean like you want all guns removed from people completely, or are you just saying like you hate mass shooting and you want to end that somehow?
Yeah, I think like weapons of like the ones that are typically used in like school shootings, like high magazine, like
right.
I still think like having a gun at home for self-defense is fine.
Like a pistol,
right. Yeah,
or like a shotgun.
Yeah, but having like an automatic machine gun, that's intended for warfare,
right?
Is not necessary to give to just your average American citizen,
right?
Yeah. And I mean, I got used to it when I lived in Texas. I saw plenty of people walking around with a gun on their hip, guns in their car,
right?
Right. But it was weird at first.
Yeah.
Seeing that, you're like, because we're a California guy, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Ooh, damn, that guy's
totally different.
That guy's, at Buc-ee's,
Yeah.
Got a
love Buc-ee's.
Yeah, I love Buc-ee's too.
That's like a Disneyland.
Yeah.
That's Texas Disneyland right
for
there.
Texas,
Yeah.
I know. But I saw a lot of dudes strapped at Buc-ee's, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, a lot of old school Texan dudes.
Yep.
Yep, with their gun. So, I mean, I think that that's totally fine,
Right, right.
and should be legal. I just think that there needs to be something.
So certain guns you think should be taken away from civilians?
Yes. I don't think civilians need, like, an automatic machine gun that can, not defend your home.
Right.
Or, like, a situation, but would, is intended for, like, war.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So obviously the common argument back would be, well, but let's say you outlaw those particular guns. The black market is still going to get them. The bad guys are still going to get those guns. And this is kind of like, I would consider your position more than I would the position of remove all the guns from civilians.
Yeah.
Because and that's where this argument that I'm making right here comes into play, because it's like, no matter what you do, the bad guys are still going to get guns.
Yeah.
There's no way to stop that. And people say, well, yeah, but then the police have guns and the military have guns and they're there to protect us. I said, well, two things with that. The first thing is that if a guy's breaking in your house at 2 a.m. and he's got a gun and he wants to rape and murder your family, how long do you think it's going to be till the cops get there?
Yeah.
Are you even going to be able to call the cops if he's got a gun in your face?
Yeah.
Right? No, but if you have a gun under your bed or whatever, you at least have some protection. He still might kill you and still might rape and kill your family. But at least you tried. At least you had some kind of defense. Yes, right? So that's the first part. And then the whole idea of the Second Amendment to begin with was for us to protect ourselves against the government.
Exactly. And that's why I think that they should be
correct. Yeah. So when we say, oh, well, as long as the police and the military has weapons, they'll protect us. It's like, well, what if they corrupt?
Yeah.
What if they turn corrupt? What if they go against, all that?
Yeah.
It's,
and people think that that's impossible, but that's happened. That's happened 100 times in history.
Yep.
And where the civilian population has had no recourse against the government.
Yes.
So, it makes sense that the government, of course, wants all guns banned.
Right.
Because it gives them, obviously a sense of control.
Yeah.
Whereas, like don't mess with Texas.
Yes.
You don't want to do that because obviously the civilians would, revolt right back.
Well, and that brings it to the point that is fascinating, is that the places that have open carry have less crime than the places that have gun laws.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that has to be considered. We have to look at that and say, why is that?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why that is. Because criminals, if they know that any of these guys in the store, any of these guys in this house could have a gun on them right now, they are less likely to go try and do something with a gun against that person.
Yeah.
Because they feel retaliation. If they know, oh, in California, nobody's got guns.
Yeah.
I'm going there and
your average citizen
absolutely
has never even seen a gun.
Correct.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And if I'm a criminal, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, that's where I'm going to go rob houses.
Well, they do that, in LA. They follow people back from Rodeo Drive and get to their house, follow them, take everything they bought on Rodeo Drive, everything, and they have no recourse. You do that in Texas, you're really running a risk.
That's right.
Yeah. You're like, give me your, and they're just.
Yep. Not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's an interesting. But you're right. The founding fathers created it so that that the population would never be subjected to a tyrant government.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah. Those there's such pros and cons to like the subjects like abortion, like gun control. But the reason that I vote I voted for Barack Obama both terms.
Yeah.
But that I tend to lean a little bit more now Republican is the reasons that really impact my life. My wallet. Crime, border.
Right. Absolutely.
We talk so much about like gun control and abortion, but like maybe I've met one person in my life who's had an abortion.
Right.
It's like, in my day-to-day life, like it doesn't impact.
Right.
But the economy does.
Correct.
Crime.
Yes.
Things like where I see it like, on a day-to-day as opposed to like, this social issue that, maybe we can hammer out down the line.
Yeah.
But like what I see now is like, just runaway inflation, things cost so much more.
Right.
I mean, in Santa Barbara, where I live, it's maybe maybe the most expensive mid-sized city in America.
Right.
And it's becoming unlivable.
Yeah.
because things are unchecked. So
Right.
that's why I tend to vote.
Okay.
Leaning a little towards the right.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what the people that are kind of counseling Trump have been telling him.
Yeah.
They say, look, you need to be pointing this out.
Yeah.
Because the average Joe American, he cares about how much gas costs. Mm-hmm. He cares about how much groceries cost.
Yeah.
All that stuff, the housing market, that's what he cares about. So you need to keep pointing to Kamala and say, look, you want more of this?
Yeah.
We've had 4 years of this.
We've had 4 years. See,
that's
it.
More?
We've had a sample size of 2 different administrations.
Yes.
And my quality of life in both administrations. And it's just been dramatically different.
And that's exactly why she's attempting to pull herself away from that and distance herself and say, oh no, that's Biden.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Now all of a sudden I'm a moderate.
I'm different. Mine will be different. Yeah, sure it will.
Yeah. No, it won't. It's like she's left of Biden.
Right.
So it's like, she comes out with these talking points now where she talks about like hunting and shooting and, cracking down on the border. It's like, you've had years. Like,
why aren't you doing it?
Why didn't you enact anything like that you're saying now to appease voters 2 weeks before an election?
Yes.
Yeah. It's just, it's comical.
Yeah. It's nuts.
Yeah. So. Yeah. At least Trump's stance rarely changes. Like, his policies. Like, but like you try and pin down her on any policy and it's just word salad. Like,
and that is exactly the point people are making. It's like, look, we know Trump, all his flaws, all his good. We know it all.
We know it all.
Trump has not changed much. He's still saying what he's saying, doing what he's doing.
Exactly the same.
We know nothing from Kamala. All we know is the Biden administration, right? Yeah. So she's claiming to be different.
And her voting rights was when she was a federal senator here, which was,
nuts.
Really woke, like policies, letting every prisoner, have a sex change with taxpayer money. Taxpayer money. Like, man, it's like I give so much money to California. Right. My family gives so much money in taxes to California. Yeah. I don't want it going to that. Like, no. Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, man. Cool. This part will be fun too. I remember. I have no idea where you stand. Well, I mean, you already said you're not religious.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I'm religious either.
Okay.
But I do believe in God. I consider myself a Christian. Okay. But I don't consider myself religious. But it's funny because I remember, so my whole life, I've never been an atheist. Okay. But I was never really, I didn't consider, I hated Christians in high school, couldn't stand them. Yeah. That was the one group of people that I just hated the most because they were so, my way is the only way, whatever. Yeah. But I remember distinctly having a quote unquote spiritual discussion with, I think you were there, but I think I was mainly talking to Henderson.
Oh, yeah.
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 And he was very...
Mormon.
Oh, was he Mormon?
Yes.
Because he was like atheist, I thought, in high school. Was he not?
His family's Mormon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Sean's family was Mormon.
Sean's family was Mormon.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Jeff's family.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember his brother Brent?
No.
Okay. But his brother,
Yeah. I'm even drawing a blank on his first name. What was his first name?
Jeff Henderson?
Jeff. Yeah, Jeff Henderson.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's a physician.
I bet.
Yeah, no.
Dude, those are some smart guys on that tennis team. Dude.
Oh, yeah. No, Yeah, we had a lot of impressive.
That's why I always crack up when I look at the, because I mean, like socially, I didn't fit in tennis at all. I was not the tennis guy. I was good at tennis,
but you were not.
But I was not your typical tennis guy, right? Yeah. So when you look at the picture in the yearbook, it's like preppy, like all these nice combed hair, the colored shirts, and then you got me just dogging the camera with my shaved head, my goatee, just looking like a thug. It's like, who's this guy? This guy he's supposed to be on the football team. Why is he on the tennis team?
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was pretty funny. But anyway, so just kind of just walk me through like where are you at with that? Like, I guess just go bare bones of it.
So my mom was Anglican, which is the Church of England. Okay. And I was raised Anglican. So St. Peter's Church here in Santa Maria. I was an altar boy there.
That's Episcopal Church,
Episcopal,
no?
Yeah, Episcopal's Anglican.
Okay.
And so I was an altar boy at St. Peter's for years, like 6 years.
Wow.
And it just never translated for me. Like, I enjoyed like the sermons. I enjoyed the camaraderie of the fellowship of church, but I was never a believer.
Okay. Like in God or in the religious system?
In God.
Okay.
Or the religious system.
Okay.
It didn't click for me. It didn't seem logical. Like, I was trying to make the connection. It just didn't seem logical.
Okay.
And that, like when I was like drinking heavily and stuff like that, I became atheist, nihilist.
Okay.
Like I went so far the other way.
Okay.
And then it's sort of like evolved as I've gotten older, where like I've become much more spiritual.
Okay.
And I've gone to religious services because again, I do like the fellowship.
Sure.
And being, because I'm a heavy part of Alcoholics Anonymous. So, the spirituality aspect and the fellowship is a big part of that program as well. So, went to services, but, it just never really clicked. Like, believing in like a higher, like a deity as a higher power.
Okay.
Just never clicked with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start with that then. So right now, you consider yourself an atheist now then, or?
I would consider myself an agnostic.
Agnostic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so if like, if I was driving back to Santa Barbara today, stopped and, had a religious experience,
right.
I wouldn't deny it and I'd be like, okay,
Yeah, but what would you think it was? You could just think you're losing your mind.
Could have thought that.
I heard a voice from heaven. What's this?
Yeah, exactly. But as long as I was like sober, and like, it would probably lead me to believe in God, or that there's a outside.
Okay. So agnostic meaning basically that you're not putting the nail in the coffin. You're not saying there is definitely not a God. There's no way. You're saying I'm open to it.
I'm open to it.
But as of yet, I've yet to be convinced that there is.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was, at one point, like a nihilist atheist, where I was nail in the coffin.
Okay.
But and that's not a fun way to live.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah, not healthy.
Well, and it's interesting because there's even studies that have shown that even if, let's say, God doesn't exist, there's no such thing as God, but these religious systems that people have brought up and designed, it's been proven that it makes them better people. I
have no doubt.
Right?
When I lived in Texas, like I told you, when I was like first time living around white people, which was like first time in my life.
Right.
They were all, it was small town Texas.
Yeah.
They were all religious too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they all invited me to their different churches.
Okay.
I didn't partake, but the family dynamic, the nuclear family, the kids, and how well they were behaved. Everybody went to college. I mean, it was just...
Yeah, dude.
Everybody volunteered. Everybody, donated their time to causes. Everybody was just... It was such a unique living change for me coming from big cities where everybody was like... Selfish.
Yes.
It's all about me.
Yep.
I'm not giving my time, stepping over homeless people.
Right.
It was just this... total culture shock living around,
right.
And they were all part of, one religious system or another. And, it shined in their approach to life, their interactions, social interactions, they always give you the shirt off their back.
Right.
I never felt judgment from them either, that I didn't go or that, that I was like, at that point, like a recovering, alcoholic, and there were no judgment, so that was the only time I've ever lived around religious people too.
Interesting. Okay.
And it was a wonderful experience.
Okay. So in your worldview, how do you explain like life? How do you explain people? How do you explain what a religious person would call creation? Yeah. Right, all the things that we see alive and moving, people, animals, plants, like this symbiotic relationship of everything on the planet. I mean, how do you explain that?
I see it as evolution.
Okay.
So and I've even studied this a lot. And I mean, within like the last 50,000 years, there were like 12 subtypes of our species around, from Neanderthals to Denisovans to several others.
And you say species, you mean like humans? Humanoid.
Not Homo sapien.
Okay.
But a subtype that we have common ancestors with.
Okay. And,
you can see like, the evolution, the fact that we share like 99% of our DNA with chimpanzees, you know, that leads one to believe that there's a common ancestor. We took a different path than chimpanzees, but, having
some of us did.
Some of us, hopefully. Yeah.
I've met some people that
some people, But
but don't we share like 90% of our DNA with a banana as well?
I don't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to.
Yeah.
But to me, we did live in a time where there were other sentient hominids.
Right.
And, we were, evolution chose us for one reason or another.
So, okay. So I have, and I'll admit right off the bat, I'm not an anthropologist. I'm not a paleontologist. I don't understand this stuff. This is why I'm kind of like asking these questions. But when you say that there's these different species or different, how'd you word it? You didn't say different species. You said different variations within the species.
Of like the hominid.
So when you say that, I assume you're referring to like when we find bones of things, and we say, well, this bone structure is slightly different than what we know today as a humanoid structure. Or maybe the skull's a little different, or the pelvic bone's a little. I mean, whatever it is, right?
Correct.
Obviously, different shapes and sizes. But I mean, I think if we were to look at even like 100 years ago. Like if we were to find a photo album, let's say, from our own family, we're up in the attic and we find an old photo album of our great grandparents and a bunch of the family members back 100 years ago. I think even if we look at them, we're going to see a difference in kind of the way, generally the way they look, right? Not just the way they dress and that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about literally like now, generally kids are taller. Now than they used to be, as a general, right? Stuff like that. So I wonder, like, how much of that could be that, as opposed to literally like a different evolutionary step.
They've been able to sequence their DNA. So their DNA, 100 years ago, the DNA was exactly the same.
Okay.
1,000 years ago, 2,000, whatever, 5,000 years ago, DNA is the same as it is today.
Okay.
But the DNA of Neanderthals, Denisovans, and others are different. So they are a different species than Homo sapien.
Okay.
And, we all, coming from Western and Northern European groups prior to the United States, we all typically have 2 to 3% of Neanderthal DNA. Like when I did Ancestry.com and got really heavy into that and got my DNA sequenced, it came back as 3% Neanderthal. That
is a part of the DNA.
Yeah, that's part of my
You
DNA.
Can come back with results that say you're part Neanderthal.
Yeah, and yours would too, Ryan. Yeah.
I haven't done it. My parents have done it.
Okay.
I found out
you can take it a step further and sequence your own DNA, and then you can find,
interesting
how much Neanderthal DNA you do have. And people in the Far East have Denisovan DNA. We don't, and people in sub-Saharan Africa don't have any Neanderthal DNA predominantly.
Okay.
But
so help me understand. So like when they're breaking down the DNA, like there's a certain there's a way they can tell by looking at it.
Yeah, like certain alleles.
Okay. And now is that the same with, let's say, again, this is my ignorance. I have no idea the answer to these questions. That's why I'm asking them.
Yeah, and I'm no expert.
Like if you were to test the DNA of somebody in China.
Yeah.
Right now today.
Yeah.
And then they test the DNA of me.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to see differences as far as are you going to be able to say, well, he's got the Chinese DNA and Ryan has the whatever Italian DNA?
Yeah.
Will that show up on there? Is that a DNA thing or is that?
Don't know.
Okay.
I know DNA can trace your origins. So there's got to be something to that.
Something there.
If somebody of Chinese descent takes a DNA test, it will be able to reflect that they are from China, and you have relatives in Italy. So to that extent, yeah, you can. I love because and they keep refining the process. So
yeah.
Mine's changed on Ancestry.com. So now it shows I'm 50% English and 30% Norwegian and 20% Swedish.
Okay, but doesn't that make you think there might be some flaws in the system?
Sure there is, yeah.
Because because you got your DNA is not changing.
No, but
right.
They're just getting better at decoding and sequencing it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Matching it up to other people.
They're getting deeper into how you can figure that out.
They're getting DNA as a whole was sequenced not even that long ago.
Right. Okay.
So it's a new science.
Okay.
But
so you got me thinking. This is cool. I've never had anybody talk about this. This is kind of neat.
Oh, cool.
This is kind of fun. So then how, if you're looking at DNA and you say, well, they have Neanderthal DNA. Now, obviously Neanderthal is, they find bones and they classify it and they say, okay, this is a humanoid species.
Yes.
It's not an ape.
Yeah.
They'll say it's a Neanderthal, which
Yes.
is to them is some mix between an ape and a human, right? Basically.
They were actually much better suited for survival than we were.
Okay.
They had a higher CC, which is cranial capacity, so it encased a larger brain.
Okay.
So when people say Neanderthal now, we're
you think caveman, yeah.
Oafish.
Yeah. Ugh.
They were actually they were intelligent. They were much stronger than we were.
Okay.
So they had they could probably, where like an average human can maybe bench press 135 pounds.
Sure.
They could bench press 315.
Well, this fits my model, my own personal model, because I agree with what you're saying. Like I see when we talk about cavemen, and I know they're always the way they're depicted as like barbaric, like idiots. Don't you see the Geico commercials or whatever? You got these guys, and they don't know what they're doing. But I personally, I think we have at least. I have to say two things here. I think we're degenerating. Yeah. As a species, I think humans. So I would agree with what you just said. That humans were smarter in the beginning, and less so now. Yes. But when you look at technology, you look at advancement, that kind of stuff, I think we're progressing in a sense, if you can call that progression, because there's a lot of bad things about where we're going to. But as far as you look at the things we can do now that we couldn't do 100 years ago, right? The fact that we're all walking around with these little digital computers in our hands, that we're able to take pictures and get on the internet and look up, we're able to do all this stuff we were not able to do 100 years ago. Yeah. If you go back 100 years and you tell somebody that you could do that, and they'd be like, whoa, magic. That's some George Jetson kind of stuff right there, right? Yeah. Way futuristic. Yeah. But as far as people, I think we've been degenerating, both intellectually, I think morally, I think all this stuff we've been degenerating big time. So that would make sense to me. Yeah. But I'm most curious about why we're taking what we're seeing with that DNA and we're putting them as separate things, as opposed to just saying, well, what if there's, humans looked like this? They had a bigger cranial, whatever. Then now over time, we haven't evolved into a different thing necessarily. We're just changing slightly to where now you might look at bones now as opposed, like I said, like 100 years ago, the bones are going to be taller. Yeah. Their femur is going to be longer. They're, that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you looked at a Homo sapiens from 50,000 years ago, they found in Austria, and compared it to a skeleton today of an average, Homo sapien, it would be dramatic difference.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So then how do we know that that's not all it is? Like, how can we be sure that it's literally another form, another species? Yeah.
And I don't really have the answer to that. I probably need Praveen here, who's a professor of genetics at Cal Poly, to kind of run us through like the bones of this. But I just know that through DNA that they've determined that like Denisovans and Neanderthals and Homo sapiens were different species of hominid. Okay. Yeah. And then we were the ones that, they even, there were hominids that were like 3 feet tall, like little hominid. There were.
Well, we have those today. I've seen Willow.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen different fantasy movies.
I've seen Ewoks. Come on now.
But like where they're like their whole species is like really small.
Right. But that's more of that's kind of like a genetic mutation in a sense, right? That's like a.
That's just how they evolved. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they call them the Hobbit race.
Right. Yeah. But but that's just passed on through like if two, what's the politically correct term? Little people? Yeah. If two little people procreate. Yeah. Now they can have a normal size person. But most likely, it's the same as with like ethnicities, right? It's like generally speaking, like the darker skin tone tends to follow, like let's say a black guy marries a white woman. Yeah. And they have 4 children. Yeah. Most of those children are going to carry the darker skin tone of the dad, right? They could have a pasty skin, blonde hair, blue eyed child. It's happened, right? But it's more rare. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No. It's I can't say definitively 100%. Right. But just based off science and what I've read, that's the prevailing truth. Okay. That they expound. So
so with the evolutionary model, and you go back to what we call the origins of evolution, right? I mean, I don't know where you would start with the amoeba or
just a single
cell organism.
Water.
So how do you account for that starting? Do you think anything started that?
I know that I don't know, but I just guess that it requires water in the right environment.
Okay.
And simple life can start to.
Sure. But doesn't the water have to come from something? Like, doesn't something have to create? Like, where did the water come from?
Well, my guess is, water just comes from the right combination of atoms. So you've got, two hydrogen atoms and an oxygen atom.
But then where do those come from?
Yeah.
Where the atoms come from?
Yeah. Well, see, now you're digging beyond my... Yeah.
Beyond your pay grade?
Yeah. Beyond my pay grade.
Yeah.
But, I just feel like, we're on the third planet from the sun. We're like exactly the right distance.
Yes.
I mean, so many things like,
right.
For how our moon developed, everything like that, created life on Earth. I mean, it is like 1 billion to 1. So there can be certainly an argument for creation.
Yes. I was just going to say, because it's interesting now, like the same arguments you're making is the exact same arguments I would use to support creation.
Yeah.
Right. Like I would, and I've said this a million times, but I mean, I would look at the fact, like you just said. So it's like where the Earth is the perfect distance from the sun, the perfect distance from the moon. Like it's in the perfect place to sustain human life, right? Human beings need certain things to survive. They need water, they need certain nutrients, and just guess what? Those certain nutrients all just happen to be within the food source here on the planet.
Yeah.
They need a certain temperature. Guess what? It just happens to be, right? It just seems like so designed, right? Yeah. Like to think, and so that's where I would go to. What I would ask you next is do you have any thoughts? I assume you know of intelligent design theory. Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think that holds any credit? Because that in and of itself doesn't need God per se. It just suggests that something with intelligence
and
created
I totally
everything.
Believe that that's a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, if there's like an advanced, they I don't know if you watch the Alien like film series.
With the James Cameron ones, you mean?
The James Cameron, but more the Prometheus.
Oh, okay.
Ridley Scott.
The later one, yeah.
Yeah, where, they sort of like, expand on that theory that, that these engineers, who are these like highly developed, alien race, developed life on Earth and then ultimately, culminated in human beings. But like, that's like an example of like intelligent design. But I totally believe like something like if we truly get to Mars and like, because Mars used to have oceans and like you used to be within that range of the sun to potentially have life.
Right.
And if they ever like colonize Mars, which Elon Musk wants to do in his lifetime. Yeah. And we find that there was life on Mars.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
would you think that's where we all came from?
Could be. Yeah.
Like there was 2 humans left on Mars and they got a little escape pod and they took off and landed on Earth. And
if millions of years ago they were highly advanced
again, they probably were.
Yeah.
Because we've been degenerating. So I think the highest we were was in the beginning.
Yeah.
Whatever that beginning was.
Yeah. So it's certainly, I wouldn't, obviously it sounds a little sci-fi-ish, but I certainly wouldn't rule out anything.
Well, see, and it's easy. It would be easier for me to believe, because obviously, like I already said, I do believe in a God, and I believe God created everything. But to me, the intelligent design theory, even if it meant space aliens created us, that makes more sense to me than everything from nothing. Yeah. No intelligence, no pushing, no nothing, no creating. It just boom, there it is, right? And there's a few examples that these aren't my examples. These are I don't know if you're familiar with Ray Comfort.
No.
Okay. You know what Kirk Cameron is?
Yes.
Remember Kirk Cameron?
Yeah.
So him and Ray Comfort, he's a New Zealand guy. He's really fun to listen to. He's got a cool accent and stuff.
Oh, cool.
And but anyway, he's got this whole thing where he tells people, and this is kind of what I would pose to you. Like if we were standing in New York City, and we were looking at all the huge skyscrapers, right? And I said to you, what do you think of those skyscrapers? And you said, oh man, they're amazing. I can't believe, they're huge. They're awesome. And then I said to you, yeah, they just appeared there one day.
Yeah.
You'd say,
what are you talking about?
No, that's dumb.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. You would say, because you're smart, something made those. Yes, somebody built that. Like, we might not even know who the builder is. We never met him.
Yeah.
But we can look at it and go, something had to have built that. Or the example is like a painting. If you look at a painting, you don't just say, oh, that just happened.
Yeah.
Some paint came flying through the air and it smashed into some canvas, and it not only did it make paint on the canvas, it's an actual picture. We can see there's a lady in the boat, and there's a dragon over here, and there's like it's telling it's giving information.
Yeah.
Right. The picture is right.
Yeah.
So I look at that and I think, yeah, that makes sense, right? These things had to have had a creator, right? A builder, a painter, or whatever. But then those same people that will say to me, well, of course, Ryan, of course those had a creator. Then they look at all the complexities of life and the planet, which to me is far more complex than any building or any painting could ever be made, right?
Yeah.
And they say, no, it just happened. It just popped into existence.
Yeah.
That just seems crazy to me, right?
It seems illogical.
Okay. Yeah. So that's why intelligent design to me is much more of a logical theory to hold.
Yeah.
As opposed to, even if we're going to take an evolutionary kind of thought, I would still, in order for me to get on board with that, I would still have to say, yes, but something put the evolution into process.
Yes.
Something said, boom, there's the amoeba. Yeah. And I've given that amoeba all the things it needs to evolve into this, to this, to this, to this, to eventually become people.
Yeah.
Right? And I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's plausible.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But the something from nothing is not plausible.
I know. And I held, like I said, I held that predominantly, like when I was like, a nihilist atheist,
right.
That, none of it meant anything. And like,
right.
Success doesn't matter. Like nothing matters.
Yeah.
It's not a healthy approach to life.
No.
But intelligent design, I could certainly.
Okay.
Because you're right. It's perfect. It's too perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
For it just
almost as if it was designed.
Yeah.
I think Richard Dawkins even said that.
Yeah.
The universe, what was this exact quote? The universe seems, its appearance gives you, I'm messing this up. You gotta look it up. It's a great quote. But something along the lines of, the appearance of the universe gives the idea of design, or like it was designed. And I'm going, well, yeah. There's a reason for that, because it was designed, Yeah. And of course he's going, but it wasn't designed. Of course it wasn't designed, because he's a very staunch evolutionary. I don't like to say scientist, because it's kind of a common conception that like Christians and science can't go hand in hand.
I know.
No, I'm all about science.
I know people that Christian scientists.
I love science. Yeah. I think science tells us more about God than a lot of things do.
Yeah.
But again, I don't go the other direction and say, well, science shows me God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
As some people might go that direction.
Yeah.
So if we would take a jump from intelligent design to Christianity, like so we've got the intelligent design, something created us, and then I come in and I say, well, not only did something create us, it was God. And not only was it God, it was the Christian God that the Bible talks about. What would be kind of your critique against that? Like, what would you say your reasons for not believing that to be true? I'm assuming you don't believe that's true.
I don't.
Okay. I don't want to presume upon your beliefs, but...
No. Like I said, intelligent design I can get on board with. But, like a Christian God, and there's... I don't know how many religions, on the planet.
There's oodles. Yeah.
Each with, staunchly believing that their God is the God, and
correct.
And there's just, and the Christian God in particular, like I enjoyed reading the Bible, and I enjoyed the parables of Christianity and the lessons, but it's really hard for me to believe that that Christianity, Muslim, Judaism, Hinduism, any of it, like not one more than the other, but that, it just doesn't track for me.
Yeah, but like why? Like which specific things, let's say Christianity, do you read and go, oh, there's no way that makes sense?
A particular deity that created life.
Okay.
And,
But is there a reason why you can't jive with that? Like, that's what I'm asking. Like, what is it about what you see around you that makes you say, No, I just can't believe that a deity created that.
Because I'm just somebody that needs proof.
Okay.
You know, and
okay.
You know, even with Jesus Christ, you know, like none of the top historians of the time, only a couple, maybe 60 years after his death, even like wrote about him. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if he was performing miracles like they said in the Bible, you know,
yeah,
some of the more renowned historians of the time, I mean, there were plenty, you know, they were writing about Caesar, they were writing about, you know,
right,
important historical figures long before Christ.
Sure.
And, you know, there's just not much there, you know, I just need tangible proof.
Okay.
And I just don't get the tangible proof from any of the religions.
Okay. Do you think Jesus existed as a man?
I personally do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I personally do. But again, there's a lot of contention with even that. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, there's just, you know, if he was written about more by historians, you know, in a more direct way,
right,
you know, then I would have a little bit more.
Okay.
But I do believe that he existed.
Yeah.
And
I'd have to look into that because I feel like when I looked into that was kind of the opposite. I feel like he was written about a lot, even from secular.
By a couple that did not exist in the time that he was alive.
Okay.
And so, you know, but, you know, feel free to do your own research.
Yeah.
And, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, because this has been years since I've spent time like researching that. So it could even be that there's been new information.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, just that, you know, and just there are so many parallels between like Christianity and like other religions, between like Jesus and or you know Osiris and the Hindu, you know, there's like all revolving around December 25th, and you know, just there's just so many like parallels, you know, to like Christ-like figures.
Sure. But I mean, especially with things like December 25th and all that. That's kind of like to me, that's like a man-made kind of thing because obviously the Bible doesn't say anywhere that Jesus was born on December 25th.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know why.
Most likely he was born like in the summer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it probably wasn't in the winter.
Yeah. In fact, I think that there's been arguments for that. But,
Right.
You know, it's just, you know, so things like that just, you know, are hard for me to hold on to.
Okay. Oh boy, there's so many ways to go with this. This is fun. So what about like just like the Bible? What are your views on the Bible?
I believe the parables and like the stories are, you know, well intended and like provide like good life lessons. Okay. But I don't think of them as
like truth. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you think like the Bible came together?
I think it was.
And what was the motive behind it?
Well, I think it was written by men. Okay. And
for what reason?
I think that they did believe that Jesus Christ was their savior. You know, at least the Old Testament, you know. Yeah. That's different, but in the New Testament. But, you know, like the Nicene Creed was convened, you know, 300 years after Christ died. Yeah. Or the Council of Nicaea. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, just imagine.
Which is when they canonized the scriptures.
Which is when they canonized. Yeah. And you just imagine if, you know, if Jesus Christ had died in, you know, 1724, and then we had a group together now that canonized, you know, and it's just like, it's just men, you know, flawed men. That can, you know, so it's hard for me to like believe like the Bible is like truth.
Right. Do you feel the same way about like historical writings of say like, I don't know, even going back to the foundings of our country, people like Abraham Lincoln or Thomas Jefferson or some of these early government people in our country?
Not so much because, you know, the writing was like in line with the time. And there was like, you know, because I was a history major for most of my college. So you had to have like primary sources. Okay. First and second and primary sources. And there was those, you know, with going back even way further. So those are a lot more easy for me to swallow. Okay. But like, you know, it's not just Christian, like, you know, with Hinduism, mean, all all organized religions. Right. I see it as a positive. Right. Like, I like living near people.
Of course.
That have like strong spiritual foundation and belief.
Yes. And I'm with you there. Like, I do not hold, like, let's take, for example, I do not believe in Mormon doctrine. Okay. Yeah. I don't. I think it's false religion. I don't believe in it at all. However, if I'm going to pick somewhere to build my house, and one of my options is around Mormons, I'm all about it.
I know.
Because I know they're going to be wonderful family people for the most part. They're giving, loving, caring, all that stuff, right? Yeah. They're going to hold a lot of my same morals that I hold.
Yes.
It doesn't mean I have to agree with them theologically.
Theologically.
Sure.
But they're, like you said, their culture, their way that they live and hold themselves.
Right.
Is like a community that you would be fine being a part of.
Yeah, for sure. And to get back to kind of the biblical criticism aspect, I think all religions, all holy books need to be scrutinized. Yeah. Big time. And I hold that to my own beliefs. I mean, I do believe the Bible is the Word of God. I believe it's true. I believe all that stuff. But that doesn't mean I'm not open to the possibility of being wrong.
Yeah,
right.
Me too.
Right.
I'm totally open to the possibility of being wrong.
Yeah. So I mean, so it's interesting because again, I don't have any specific sources to cite at the moment, but I know that I kind of went down the road early on in my Christian walk because I'm like, well, how do I know? How do I know? I mean, because if I'm having a discussion with somebody that says, well, Ryan, why do you believe such and such? Why do you think this? Why do you think that? And I say, well, because the Bible says. Well, because the Bible says. Well, because the Bible says. That only holds water if the Bible's true. Yeah. If it's not true, then who cares what it says, right? Anybody can say, well, how do you believe this? Well, this book I have in my attic, it says this, so therefore it's true. No. Just because a book says something doesn't make it true, right? So that led me kind of down a path of saying, well, how do I know it's true? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's all phony. Maybe it's all written by a bunch of men who wanted to control people and wanted to be powerful and say, oh, let's write this book. Let's do all this stuff. So I did kind of go down that road. And I'm blanking on what you said some of your, like the time frames were. Mm-hmm. But as far as like the writings of Scripture, those weren't written 300 years after the death of Christ. I mean, those are written pretty close too. Pretty close. And of course, does that mean? I mean, that could mean that they wholeheartedly believe that this Jesus guy was their Messiah. Yeah. Maybe they did. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just some guy who did some tricks and made everybody think he was so and so, and they all bought it wholeheartedly to the fact that they were willing to die. Mm-hmm. But I guess one thing you can't say is that they didn't believe it. No, right? Is true. It's like a suicide bomber, right? It's like, I don't believe their religion is true, but I believe that they believe it's true. Oh yeah, 100%. Because they're willing to die for it, right? So I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
No, I fully believe that. Yeah,
right.
Their intention that they fully believed.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. I forgot where I was going with that one. Bill Maher. Yeah. Did you ever watch Religulous?
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
I love them.
So here's my issue with it though. I enjoyed it too, just because I'm that guy. I can watch stuff that goes against my beliefs, and
that's good because that doesn't happen a lot.
Right. I mean, because first of all, like I said, I'm open. Yeah. For all I know, Bill Maher's Religulous movie is going to convince me that Christianity is not true. Hey, and if it's not true, I don't want it. Yeah. I don't want it if it's false. Yeah. My issue with the movie was I don't believe that Bill Maher was actually looking for the truth. I just don't. I mean, who are you interviewing? You're interviewing the guy who plays Jesus at a Christian theme park? Yeah. This is the great theological mind you want to pick the brain of to see if Christianity's true? Really? Yeah. I mean, there are so many fantastic guys that have spent their entire lives apologetically defending the Christian faith, looking at all these arguments and that people throw at it and all this stuff. They would be able to, they're the ones you want to talk to if you're truly seeking whether or not Christianity is true. Yeah. I feel like he just set out to make a mockery of it because he's already made up his mind, right?
Narrative.
Yes. His narrative. Right. Which I'm sure he would probably admit.
To his audience.
Correct. And he would probably admit that. He'd probably look, I don't care if it's true or not. I'm not even looking for that. It's not important to me at all.
He wants to, make a Bill Maher type comedy movie that exposes, his narrative. Yeah. Yeah. And most of the stuff in the movie, I agree. And it's sad because I think to myself, that's when some people, when they think Christianity, that's what they think. Yeah. They think of some guy down in Mexico who's claiming to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, and all these people are giving him all this money. Yeah. And I'm sitting there watching this going, oh my gosh, are you people nuts? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. It'd be like the people Borat exposes. Yes. In his, right. Where he targets like very certain types of people. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
For laugh and like for entertainment.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So what about something like morality? Do you think morality is also a part of an evolutionary process?
That's a good question. Yeah, morality is, definitely changing, and it's dramatically changing now. And, probably some of that has to do with the fact that, the newer generations are steering away from organized religion of any kind.
Yeah. And they're steering more towards self.
Yeah.
What makes me happy.
Self. Yeah.
Right.
So it's becoming very selfish. And, morality is just really taking a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look at our parents' generation growing up like in the 50s and, and then our generation and then this generation,
Kind of makes you wonder what it's going to be like for our grandkids, right?
I mean, it makes you wonder like 100 years from now. I mean, you can be whatever you want. I mean, if you identify as a cat,
yeah.
If you identify, it doesn't matter.
Right.
If you want to, start having sex at like 10, 11 years old.
Yeah. Why not?
Go,
you got the urges, right? Go for it.
Yeah. Parenting has changed, which has really affected morality.
Yes. It's terrible.
I'm afraid for like the direction that,
right.
In terms of morality,
sure,
like where we're going.
Right.
Because it's really like unpredictable right now.
Right. So do you think like morality comes from, well, like where do you think it comes from?
I think it comes from different things: community, parents, religion.
Yeah.
Not society so much.
I mean, it's obviously passed down, right? I'm with you there. Like we're generally gonna parent our children kind of the way our parents parented us, maybe with some little minor changes, and then our kids are gonna
major changes. Like we were the latchkey generation,
right?
So like in fact I said this to like a couple friends, but like there was this like Gen Zer, didn't have a shirt on and like some stupid whatever they put on their head, I forget. But he was like, so you guys talk about drinking from a hose. He's like, was the sink not available? And then the Gen Xer comes on and she's like, look, Gen Z. She's like, we were kicked out of the house. Like every day was like an episode of Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a commercial that came on at 10 o'clock every night that our parents had to watch that said, this is the 10 o'clock news. Do you know where your children are right now? But there was a commercial that told our parents that they had kids.
Right. Right.
And so that's what we grew up in.
Yeah.
And today's kids, because maybe we were the latchkey generation.
Yeah.
We're helicoptering. We're,
we're
oh my
overdoing
God,
it.
like I've seen like toddlers like screaming on floors. And like the parents like on the floor with them, like trying to rationalize with them, and like
I know it drives
me
your
feelings
crazy.
Like, tell me, and the kids like going insane on the ground, and I'm just like, 50 years ago that'd be pick your kid up, put him in the shopping cart, like,
right,
and now they're like, I value this, and the kid's just screaming, and you're just like, what is going on here?
Yes, and
so like so you just it's really selfish, and with social media is like a severe detriment to like morality and just in general. And I really fear for like the upcoming generations. Like, how is Gen Z gonna parent? I just don't even know.
It's scary
because they're so internal about everything instead of like what can I do to it's like what can you do for me?
Well, that's why I would almost support them all just getting sterilized.
I wouldn't mind.
Instead of using
let's just skip this generation.
I mean, instead of using abortion as birth control, why don't you just like go get sterilized? You can have all the sex you want, and you don't have to procreate.
Yeah, exactly. Because this man, I as a recruiter, I deal with this generation as they're coming out of college.
Right.
And I can't, like every time I deal with Gen X, beautiful experience, it's give and go conversation, social skills. They're always like, I'm applying for this job because I can solve your problem. I can fill the need.
Right.
Gen Z, oh my God, they're just like, I need to make $65K off the bat because that's what I need to live. And I'm like, you didn't do any internships. You have no work experience. You have a degree in like global studies.
Right.
I'm like, I can't even get you a job at In-N-Out. Like, Like, what are your, like,
right.
What did you do with all the student loans that you have to pay back? Oh, I went to Europe every year.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, dear God. And like, that's what we're like losing out on, like the population in droves, like every college graduation.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know.
Dude. Oh, it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know what the subsequent generations are going to be that they're going to create, but
if we even last that long, who knows?
I know. Yeah, exactly. But I'm not too thrilled about like how we as a generation raised all these kids. Okay. Like, how did the latchkey generation that grew up like with, like we're talking about music, like with Alice in Chains and Twisted Sister and all the and just all the, all the cool stuff we did growing up. Like, how did we make these kids? Like, it just bogs. My kid's not like that. Yeah. But man, sure seems like a lot of the kids are.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to word what I'm asking about morality. But like if I came to you and I said, or let's say you came to me and you said, I'm sure you agree with this. Rape is wrong.
Yes.
You would say that adamantly. Right? There's no part of you that thinks that that's okay.
No.
Right?
0.
100%.
Yeah.
And I said to you, why? What would your response be?
Because you're detrimentally hurting an individual.
Yeah.
Causing the most irrevocable harm you can to an individual without killing them.
Okay.
Yeah. Short of killing them, rape is like,
But why is that bad? Why is it bad to cause that on another person?
Because you're completely like invading their space, their livelihood, their trust. Right. You're causing damage that will live the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm. But inherently, it's because inherently you know that's wrong.
Yeah.
You're seeing the invasion of another person's sexuality like that as being a bad thing.
Yes.
Right? And is that partly cultural? Like if you grow up, in other words, if you grew up in a city, in an area where that was just the norm. Yeah. That's just what people did.
Yeah.
They just raped each other all the time. It was normal. Do you think you would feel differently?
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I grew up with Western values in a Western country.
Right.
I'm sure there are places on this planet right now where that's acceptable in the daily.
Right.
But not, if you have Western values and Western principles, no, that's, outside of murder, or maybe even worse than murder.
Yeah.
To commit. But, there are places, where I, feel like, that exists. And it probably didn't even, that long ago, even in Western culture to an extent, 400 or 500 years ago or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your view then, like morality comes from culture, basically. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The value system that that your culture.
But you would say that if you had your way, like globally, what you just kind of termed Western morality, do you think that should be the right way for everybody?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to say like, a lot of cultures don't have, positives, but like, Western values to me espouse, a functioning society, a law-abiding, functioning society.
Yes.
Where we do our part.
Right. Which from your worldview would be for the sake of the life on Earth.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing beyond that, right? And that kind of leads me to the last thing I was going to ask you about is like heaven and hell. You don't believe in any form of heaven or hell. You just think when you die, that's it, lights out kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No afterlife at all.
I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, being an agnostic, if that could change.
Right.
I'm open. I'm certainly open.
But you hope you're wrong. Yeah. You hope there is. Well, I assume you're saying you hope you're wrong that there is not a heaven. You're hoping there is a heaven.
Yes.
But you probably don't wish there was a hell.
Yeah, but if there's one,
okay,
why not?
There's got to be the other.
Yeah, I mean that's typically how things work.
Got to go one of two places.
Yeah, and I can't imagine like some of the most evil people that have ever lived like are
that's
just
a good point.
In heaven.
Yeah, because let's say there is a heaven.
Yeah.
And Ted Bundy's up there, or somebody like that.
Bundy's like, chilling with.
You wouldn't be like, hey,
Stalin.
What are you not? You shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
How come nobody made a place for this guy?
Yeah, exactly.
There's got to be somewhere bad for this guy to go.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's part of like Western values.
Okay.
With religion and other things. About living the right way on Earth.
Yes.
So that you are rewarded, not penalized.
Yeah.
For being selfish and self-serving and committing crimes or whatever.
Yeah, because that would be more like the same thing, but like on an internal perspective.
Yeah.
Right, like because we can talk about laws of the land, and we probably agree that if someone kills somebody, there should be punishment for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If someone does something good, there should be a reward for that.
Yeah.
And most people would agree in that realm.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when we talk about an afterlife, or we talk about like kind of like an internal punishment versus an internal reward, people are like, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily people should spend eternity of one and two places based on their lives on Earth and the things they did and didn't do on Earth.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that you hold that you hope there is that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then my final question for you, now that you said that was going to be my final question, but what you just said prompted another one.
Okay.
If you look at, because obviously you said you grew up going to church a little bit, you've read the Bible a bit.
Yeah.
And I know you don't believe that that's true, what the Bible says about, Jesus and that whole kind of Christianity in general. Is that something to you that's desirable? Like, in other words, do you look at Christianity and think, yeah, that'd be kind of cool if that was true?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't look at it like, oh man, I hope that's not, because that's like the worst thing ever.
No.
Okay.
No.
So you like it?
Yeah, I do.
You just intellectually haven't gotten to the point where you can jump over the other side.
Yeah.
Interesting, dude.
But I do keep an open mind.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
That's a good philosophy.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pray then, after you go home, that the angels will surround your house. And
I will be willing, and I will let you know.
Yeah. Well, because it's funny, because back before I believed in any of it, I was like, I used to say that, if Christianity is real and it's the only way and all that, and it's true, then, why doesn't God just come down and stand in front of me and tell me that, it's real?
Yeah.
And I used to say, if he did that, I'd believe. If he did that, I believe. But now I'm looking back on it, it's like, no, I wouldn't. At the time I was making that statement, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I would pass it off as something else.
Yeah.
I'm having a flashback, or I'm seeing things, or I'm losing my mind, or, because I wasn't ready to even want that at that time, because I hated Christians. I didn't want to be a Christian. I hated them.
Yeah. So even if that had happened, you weren't truly
correct.
Yeah. You were still closed-minded.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm open-minded.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
All right, dude. That was fun.
A lot of fun, Ryan.
That was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
That was awesome. Very, very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks again for checking out this podcast, and please tell all of your friends about it. Don't let those shadow-banning savages win the battle. Also, I would love to hear your feedback. You can contact me at whycan'twetalkaboutThat at proton.me. Make sure that you subscribe so that you'll be notified whenever new episodes are released. Thanks.